try to get out on time. We heard you last time we had a executive session that went over. We weren't about to do that no more. But I thank you for being here for this meeting. And at this time, Mr. Clerk, I want to, we just come out of the executive session. I need a motion to close the executive session. I'll entertain a motion to close the executive session.
I'll make a motion to close the executive session.
The properly moved to second. Is there any actions that were taken during the executive session?
No, sir.
Or Mayor, not necessarily actions, but are there any motions that
That's,
have resulted
I'm sorry. Motions, is there any motions
that have resulted from your
that
executive
resulted
session?
from executive session? Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, you can make the motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the Mayor Pro Tem's office be reserved for the Mayor Pro Tem meeting.
So you would want to move, based on what you were saying there, you would want to move
Yes.
to designate the Mayor Pro Tem's office as a set location and just identify that set location.
Correct.
That means anybody whose Mayor Pro Tem goes into that particular location, am I correct?
Correct,
Council?
Mayor.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Properly moved to second, any discussion? All those in favor? That passes. Okay? There's another motion.
I move that we authorize the mayor to close on fire station parcels 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 13, and 17 upon obtaining the title of insurance, removing conditions from the quick claim deed, and adding language clarifying that the city is not accepting debt by the conveyance.
Second.
Properly moved to second, any further discussion? All those, hearing none, all those in favor? I think that passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And I would like a motion to close the work session.
I'd like to make a motion to close work session.
Second. Properly moved to second, any discussion? Hearing none, work session is closed. Mr. Clerk, call the roll for me, please.
Mayor William Bill Edwards.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mark Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Catherine Rowell.
Present.
Councilmember Carmelita Gumbs.
Present.
Councilmember Helen Z. Willis.
President.
Councilmember Naima Gilyard.
Here.
Councilmember Rosie Jackson.
Here.
And Councilmember Cleve. Present. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, we'll have an invocation by a chaplain, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Let us pray. Dear gracious God, once again we recognize that you have assembled us together. Our presence is here. But to make it complete, oh God, we need your presence. So we ask for your presence in our heart, mind, and soul, so that all that is said and all that is done, again, will be according to your will and your way and not ours. And when that's done, oh God, we know that all will be served for the greater good of the city of South Fulton. Bless our mayor and city council. This we pray. Let us all say, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, first item for consideration is approval of the consent agenda, and I would like to request that you motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, which will allow us to remove letter D under agreements, the medical director agreement for fire services. As you will recall, we had a special call meeting on last Friday where we considered the IGA with Fulton County, and at that time we also took up and considered approval of the medical director agreement.
I'll accept the motion on the consent agenda with an amendment. With that amendment.
I move that we approve the consent agenda to include the amendment.
Second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All right. That passes. I think Mr. Baker, that passes unanimously.
Okay. On page 2, under Number 5, approval of the regular meeting agenda. We do have a couple changes, one request for a removal. That's under ordinances on page 3, letter D, under ordinances, Roman numeral 3. The mayor asked to remove the first reading of an ordinance to amend Title 11 of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances regarding parks and recreation to establish facility rules and regulations for the City of South Fulton parks and recreational facilities and for other purposes. This is sponsored by Councilmember Rowell under Ordinance 2018-007, and the request was to remove that from today's regular meeting agenda, and we're going to postpone discussion on that matter. I also during our 5 o'clock work session, it was moved by Councilmember Willis to actually move 2 of her items that were listed on the work session agenda to be considered during the regular meeting agenda. And the first one is around criminal offenses to establish duties regarding supervision of minors. That was to add that item to today's regular meeting, as well as a resolution to approve the installation of a concrete barricade on the right-of-way of Spring Street to block the ingress of the New Life a.M.E. Zion Church, as requested by Councilmember Willis as well. And those are 2 add-ons to today's regular meeting agenda, in addition to the request for removal from the mayor.
I'd like to want to explore if I can move a resolution for performance measures to add to the agenda as well.
Yes, you can. You would just have to make that motion.
I make a motion to add resolution for performance measurements to the agenda, regular meeting agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Mr. Rhodes? You want to add something?
Yes. I would like to add to the agenda discussion to move our next meeting from the 13th to the 20th of March.
Second.
What is, I'm going to ask for the urgency in that, what's doing that. Because it's not on the agenda as the others were. You follow me?
Well, Mayor, your code section that speaks to that, it encourages 2 things, a special circumstance or an emergency, but it doesn't require that.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the other 2 we had was already on. They moved from one thing to another. This one is different. Do you opine that that is an emergency?
Well, you don't have a mandate that it be an emergency. You would have to amend that code section to require that it be an emergency.
You're opining that it's not an emergency for the record.
No, I don't know whether it's an emergency or not. That would be up to the council member to specify, but my advice, my opinion to you is that your current policy does not require that it be an emergency.
I just want to say it for the record. You want to say something else?
Yes, I just want to explain that the reason for the move is that the majority of voting council members will not be in town on the 13th.
Do you mind if I ask how many will be out of town? Would it be majority of?
Well, actually, just a parliamentary procedure, you would vote on his motion, and then if you approve it, you can have this discussion when it comes up later.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. You get a second?
Yes.
Okay. Probably second. All those in favor? All right. Let's have it. Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Okay, the next item under number 6, proclamations and recognition, sponsored by Councilmember Gilyard, a proclamation honoring Arlington Christian School Appreciation Day, today, February 22, what is today? February 27, 2018.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is with pleasure that I read this and then tell you a little story, okay? Whereas since their inception in 1959, the mission of Arlington Christian School has been to help children grow as Jesus did in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. The doors of the Arlington schools opened as a private independent school serving students in Southwest Atlanta in 1968. Greater Atlanta Christian School was established by members of the Churches of Christ in the Atlanta area to offer quality Christian education on the north side of Atlanta. Whereas in 1986, GACS took over the operation of the school at Arlington. For 8 years, GACS and Arlington combined their strengths as Greater Atlanta Christian School at Arlington. For the continued strengthening of the school's program, the need was recognized for greater local control and direction. Whereas in the summer of 1994, Arlington Christian School Incorporated was formed as an independent operation, continuing the challenge of providing quality education in a Christian environment. Whereas today, Arlington Christian School continues its mission to help children grow as Jesus did in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. It is dedicated to training young people both in godly principles and in academic competencies. Arlington accepts students for admission without regard to race, sex, or national origin. The school proudly embarks on its journey to 60 campaign, which is to seek to raise $1 million to advance both capital and technological improvements for the 2019 celebration of 60 years of quality Christian education in this Georgia community. Arlington's guiding principles are: provide quality education in a Christian environment, maintain academic rigor, develop each child's unique abilities, focus on the child, cultivate the family, and engage the community, celebrate cultural, spiritual, and learning differences. Whereas Arlington Christian School is wholeheartedly committed to providing quality education in a Christian environment. Accordingly, their scholars are empowered to soar by demonstrating self-control, optimistic outlook, accountability for actions, and respect for responsibility. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of South Fulton congratulates Arlington Christian School on its achievements and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, February 27, 2018 as Arlington Christian School Appreciation Day in the City of South Fulton. So I would like everyone to come up, and I would just like to share that I've heard an awful lot about, and I'm going to say this before I hand the mic to Councilwoman Jackson, who has a few words to say. But I'd heard a lot about Arlington Christian School, but just really didn't know very much about the school. And I started reading about it and decided that I wanted to go and talk to them about a partnership, since the school is located in my district, and asked if I could host, if they would let me host an HOA coalition meeting. They were very gracious. They said yes. We had the meeting, everything was excellent, and they let us stay over a little bit. So our partnership is on track. I am just so very proud of the school, and I'm going to do everything I can to help them grow and develop. And so after Ms. Jackson, I would like for you to say a few words as well for the head of the school, whoever she chooses.
On behalf of my grandson, Dylan Brown, he attends Arlington Only thing he tells me is, I like my school, but I have 100 pages of homework all the time. But I just appreciate the work that you guys are doing in that school, and I told Naima you have a good jewel, a great jewel in your area. And I appreciate what you guys are doing with the young people. Thank you.
And please tell everyone about the golf tournament.
Oh, maybe I'll have my board member do that. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Vanessa Johnson. I'm the head of school at Arlington Christian School, and we're so excited. We sit on 40 acres of beautiful property in Fairburn, and actually our address says Fairburn, but it's South Fulton. And not many people know about where we are because there wasn't a lot of advertisement. So we're advertising tonight, so we are the better choice. So we have a golf tournament that's coming up on April the 20th. We're asking you to come out. Please go to our website. That's arlingtonchristian.org. Please go to our website, sign up. We need as many people as we can to come out and help us raise this money because we really need to make some improvements at the school. We thank you all so much for giving us this opportunity to come out and receive this proclamation. And I would like my board member, Dr. Week, to say something. I'm putting him on the spot.
You say that. It is truly an honor to be here tonight, and it's just, we have a great opportunity to impart a lot of good things to our young people, and that's why we do what we do there at Arlington Christian School. So please join us at our golf tournament. We're excited about it. We're excited about growing our young people. We're very excited about that. Thank you.
Where's it going to be?
It's going to be at Summer Grove down in Newton.
Here we go. Right here. 2, 3. 1. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
I want to piggyback on celebrating excellence in education. And I want to take this opportunity to highlight a success story in terms of our schools in South Fulton County. I know many people may not recognize or may not realize that Randolph Elementary School had the second highest gain in Fulton County on the College and Career Readiness Performance Index this year. And so we want to celebrate that. I'll read the proclamation and then I'll ask, we see a number of the school leaders and members of the school board, I'll ask you to come up. The proclamation reads, whereas the Georgia Department of Education released the 2017 College and Career Readiness Performance Index, which measures schools and districts with a rating on a 100-point scale. Whereas for 2017, Asa Phillip Randolph Elementary obtained a score of 73.2, which is a 20.6-point increase from last year, and the second highest gain on the CCRP in the Fulton County school system. Whereas the school has shown significant improvement, and the leadership team and instructional staff's commitment to ensure every child succeeds needs to be recognized. Whereas the vast majority of the CCRP score derives from student performance on the Georgia Milestones end of grade test, and Randolph Elementary experienced an increase in all categories: academic achievement, 4.5 points, student progress, 13.1 points, achievement gap, 2 points, and exceeding the bar, 1 point. Whereas the teachers, administrators, and school governance council have remained diligent in their efforts to track student growth and progress, and through an all-hands-on-deck approach created a data-driven school culture. Whereas each certified teacher in the building works with a small group of students to drive performance forward, including the principal and assistant principal. And based on the results of the Georgia Milestone, 93% of students achieved typical or high growth, which is a 33% increase over the prior year. Whereas Randolph Elementary has also demonstrated a significant increase in the Georgia Department of Education School Climate Star Rating with a score of 88.8, which is an increase of 5.1 points from the prior year and an overall increase of 10.8 for the last 2 years. Whereas Randolph believes that school climate is attributed to the support from parents and families, the fidelity in implementing the positive behavior intervention and support system program, instituting a uniform policy, weekly enrichment sessions, employee loyalty program, and a highly successful and informative parent university. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of South Fulton congratulate Asa Phillip Randolph Elementary on their achievements on the CCRPI and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, February 27th as Asa Phillip Randolph Elementary Appreciation Day in the city of South Fulton. Members of the school board and the leadership team from A. Phillip Randolph and Principal Miley, please come forward. Wanted to present this to you all, and I also wanted to provide you an opportunity to share some remarks.
On behalf of Fulton County Schools and our school board president, Linda Bryan, I graciously accept this honor. This is definitely a team effort. We have 89 staff members and we all come to work every single day with one thing in mind. We are destined to make Fulton County Schools and South Fulton County Schools the best there is. And before I close out, I would like to allow our board president to share a few words.
Thank you for this invitation. We are so very proud of A. Phillip Randolph. We are doing great things in South Fulton County. We're just children in our schools because we're moving up the ladder. Our school competes constantly with any other school that you might take into consideration going to. We also have great parents who come out and really help us. So thank you so much for this. I don't think I can say any more than that's on the proclamation, but thank you for having us. Dr. Whitaker, who is over elementary schools, would you like to say a word, please?
And good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to the City of South Fulton, Mayor Edwards, and just to echo the sentiments by our board president, Ms. Bryant, as well as Ms. Miley. Randolph has always been a gem in our community and will continue to be. And now our CCRPI score is beginning to reflect exactly what our children can do, and it is only going to go up from there. So thank you.
Here we go. On three. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3.
that takes you to the public comment portion of today's meeting. So far, we have received 15 speaker cards. If the first 5 speakers would please approach the podium, Mr. Mike Taylor, Mr. Corey Johnson, Ms. Jewel Johnson, Bishop Alonzo Terry, and Ms. Nikki Williams. Mr. Taylor first.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak. My name is Mike Taylor of District 4, and I reside in the Cedar Grove community area. During this evening work session, Martha came up and they spoke. They presented, and they spoke in particular to Route 92. With respect to Council Gilyard, and I thank Council Willis for speaking in the absence of Council Gilyard, we do not want to see Martha traveling west of Route 92. Now, if we have to have it, it's fine if we have to stop at Derrick Road. And I'm going to say a bad word, I'll just say UC. For those who stay in the city of UC, behind Publix, that's okay if it travels down Route 92, because it would be good for the elderly to be able to travel down Route 92 to get to Walmart and Kroger's and things of that nature. But keep it east of 92, if you will, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Bishop Alonzo Terry, Senior Pastor at Solid Rock Church, 4707 Washington Road. I've served this community for the last 30 years and overseen 24 churches in Atlanta. I come to speak to the men and women who was elected by the South Fulton citizens. It was Martin Luther King who said, "Service is to rent we pay for living." We all are servants because whether we were elected as a pastor or as elected by the citizens of South Fulton, the opportunity to serve is a privilege and a right. The people entrust us to make wise decisions that affect their family, their jobs, their careers, and the way we live. I know there's been issues in the past regarding team playing, working as a team. The success of any organization rests on the shoulders of its leadership. Leadership is paramount. We recognize that, number one, as a city, we're going through a lot of growing pains. And the process is natural when you're going through growing pains. It was back in 1776 when the United States ratified the Constitution. The debate was furious. The debate of the 13th Amendment to end slavery was furious. When people have a passion about what they believe, there will always be strong debate. But we can disagree without being disagreeable. I believe that we make a team, we're a strong team together. We must remember that every board member brings something to the table. Every board member is unique, and they are formed and shaped by their triumphs, their failures in life. It was Steve Covey who made a statement. He said this: "Seek first to understand, then be understood." Before we get our point across, I think it's important for us to understand one another. It was President John Kennedy in 1961 who addressed the Canadian Parliament. He said, you know, the map has made us neighbors, history has made us friends. He said the economy has made us partners, and necessity has made us allies, but there is more to unite us than divide us.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
I'll request one more time for Corey Johnson, Joel Johnson, and Ms. Nikki Williams to please come approach the podium. And y'all can stand up so we know you're there. The mayor and council would like for you to also state your name and the district that you happen to live in for them to identify you. So Mr. Johnson, Ms. Jewel Johnson, and then Ms. Nikki Williams.
First of all, good evening, everyone. Corey Johnson, District 1. I bring you greetings from a workforce development program called Year Up, Y-E-A-R-U-P, Year Up. Year Up is a workforce development program for our young adults between the ages of 18 to 24. They must have a high school diploma or a GED. You cannot have a college degree or currently be enrolled in a 4-year institution. This program is breaking generational cycles, and this program is allowing our young adults to actually live on their own. So I bring an option, not problems or solutions, but an option for our young adults in the South Fulton area. We are providing young adults bi-weekly stipends, paid internships, college certifications, and plus health insurance through Kaiser Permanente. The breakdown of the program is 6 months of coursework, and it's all IT, Java programming, cybersecurity, PC repair, and network technician, IT help desk, and also web development. The first 6 months, they are taking all of those courses, and then the second 6 months, it's an internship. And on these internships, they're not getting coffee, donuts, or playing on the internet, or running back and forth to get copies. They're actually doing the work. And after this 1-year program, our young men and women are working for Fortune 500 IT companies such as Bank of America, Cox Automotive, Elevon, the Weather Channel, just to name a few. The starting salary after this 1-year program, minimum is $36,000, max over $60,000 a year. So picture a young man or a woman between the ages of 18 to 24 with a high school diploma or GED making more than their parents. So I just really wanted to give you all options in the city of South Fulton, because also I come tonight to know that the crime area is heavy. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Jewel Johnson, Ms. Jocelyn Fred, Mr. Michael Venable, and Mr. A.W. Davis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jewel Johnson, and I technically reside in District 1. I want to speak to you this evening about a very strong concern that I have. I'm very passionate about this, and it's about the removal of the Robbins Farm. I want to let you know that the gang of foes that voted for the removal of this firm did not have a clue about the fact that this firm was the firm that helped us to make the city, along with myself and others. And that's the reason why I am so passionate about it. It was done in a way that caused us to be in jeopardy with our city. There's a possibility that we can lose our charter. This is not going to work. Block of 4, I say to you, you don't have a clue because you did nothing to work to help make the city. But I don't hold that against you. And I don't want you to hold this as being personal against the people or me. But I'm saying to you, you have to work. There cannot be just 4 districts running a district of 7 in a city. What you are doing is crippling us. And I'm saying this to you, Mayor, you gotta fix this. I'm asking you, along with other people, to fix this, because you are just as involved as they are. I did not work as hard as I did to help make this city, and gave my personal money to help make it, along with the Robbins Group. The Robbins Group worked tireless for a whole year for us, and did not quiver, not one little bit, or quiver, I mean. And what we did was open up a wound with them and poured salt over in it. And I want you to know that I'm not the only one. I've spoke to people all across this city, and they have said the same thing that I said. I have more petitions to give to you. And if you want to talk to me about this, I'll talk to you individually.
Thank you. Hey, you're trying to get the folks to come down when your name is called.
I think they want me to.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is A.W. Davis. I live in District 4. I haven't seen you. How are you?
How are you?
Benjamin Franklin said, the best government is the government closest to the people. Dr. Milton Friedman, a man whom I learned a lot from, professor of economics at the University of Chicago, he said that politics is the disguise of economics. In 1980, I gave a talk, to the Miami-Dade Board of Commissioners. The topic of the speech was the crystallization of modern failures. What it addressed was a trend pattern that I had noticed going back to 1945. And what it reflected was cities counties and states over that 35-year period had grown consistently more dependent on the federal government. How did that happen? It happened through their grants program and other subsidies. What we have to take in mind and be very cautious of, when you take a grant, most grants come with some type of a stipulation or mandate. Invariably, what that does is it weakens your authority and your ability to govern. The moment that I gave that speech in Miami was in reflection of the Miami riots, the McDuffie riots. Arthur McDuffie was a close friend of mine. It was very painful because we grew up together over town, and I knew him to be a great brother, and he was killed for no reason. So I was hurt and I was looking for the answers, and that's what led me to doing the research. And once I found out that there was a fact pattern, there was a trend, and that trend had some kind of a nefarious orientation to it, and invariably it was going to have a damaging effect. And I'm asking you as a new city, don't just necessarily adopt what other cities do in regards to grants and other subsidies. Identify a design and try and feed that design through your grants. Enjoy your evening, and as always, may God bless each of you.
Thank you. Call a few more names. Mr. Thomas Williams Jr. and Steve D. Hewitt. Follow Mr. Venable.
Michael Venable, District 6 on National. Having been involved in local land use issues for many, many years, I'm seeing major and imminent possible problems that are arising that will place this jurisdiction in jeopardy. Legal counsel needs to be assigned to all land use boards at all meetings, Planning Commission, zoning appeals, code enforcement, etc., as the guidelines are either not adhered to or questioned as negotiable. I realize many citizens here are new on these boards, but it's imperative that as policymakers, that you make sure this city adheres to all the rules and regulations, maybe up to the point that these hearings need to be suspended until competent legal counsel is in attendance. And that should be mandated by this city. Talking about legal, it's disturbing that the Robbins firm, essentially one of the fathers of this city, is no longer on staff. The timing is just really, really bad. Having had intimate and direct successes in assisting this municipality into existence, the success of South Fulton has now been compromised. This group made sure that all financial assets, properties that were due to South Fulton came to South Fulton. They were disconnected and uncompromised from other local municipalities and were our best protection and advocate. Robbins' firm was really, really good, and now the wolves are circling. Folks can only respect your decisions if and only if folks know and understand the decision.
Thank you.
I think I'm next. Is that correct? Steve Hewitt, live in District 4. However, I own property in District 7, 2 rental houses. I found out last week my mortgage payment is going up on one of mine. When I called my insurance agent about this, he says because my insurance is going up. My insurance last year was $808. As of Thursday, it's going to be $2,064. And I didn't have the statement here, but we'll look just to verify. And the reason for it is, I don't think it's any fault of the city of South Fulton at all. Perhaps just an oversight, perhaps. And I understand, I think someone has told me, one of the neighbors in the area, that they've spoken with some of the council, and you may be aware of this, that the agreement, that the mutual aid agreement, I believe it's called, between the city of Fairburn and our area, is that they would respond to us over there because they're the closest. By same nature of that, the city of South Fulton would respond to somebody in Fairburn because they're close. Okay, fine. For some reason, the insurance company does not recognize that. As I understand, there's an ISO protection, let's see, put that down, ISO protection classification rating that they go by. Right now, they're not seeing that. Right now, they're seeing that the closest fire station is way over at Rivertown Road and Sioux Road, over 6 miles away. As far as they're concerned, it's like a volunteer fire station. Now, I understand it's going to get fixed. I spoke with the fire chief. He was very, very helpful. He knows exactly what needs to be done. But as I understand, from that point, the council needs to move on from there. I'm sure you probably will. I just want to say it is urgent. 2 days from now, I'm starting to lose money on that rental property. And there are others in the neighborhood that have said the same thing. They're just going as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Leader Chapman, Ms. Glenda Collins, Ms. Teola Ford.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. I reside at 7303 Simon Street, Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, 30349. I'm here on behalf of me as a taxpayer and a concerned citizen. We have a charter. You guys are to only set policies and procedures. I left out the last meeting we had. I thought we had a great meeting. Got a call at 12 o'clock and something else had went on. What we need to do, we need to put all our egos aside. I said it once and I'm gonna say it again. Put our egos aside, put our personal feelings aside, and do what you were elected to do. Council, Lady Gums, you're my counsel. I expect for you to do what you were elected to do. I told you I will support you, but I will not support the foolishness. Again, do what you're supposed to do. Follow the charter. That's all. It's in the charter. You're to set solid procedures and procedures, policies and procedures. You don't have no business dipping in any other business. Just do what you're supposed to do at the charter. That's just like the Bible. If you follow the charter, you won't have no problems. Again, I respect all of you guys, but now it's time out. It's time out. We're a laughing joke right now. To hear on people saying, you don't want to live down there with them black folks. Do you think we want to hear that? No. And people are not going to stand up here and say it because they're afraid. But the good thing about me, I ain't in the bed with none of you guys. So what y'all need to do is just set the procedures and policies. And I will support everything you do, but I cannot accept and do the foolishness. Thank you.
My name is Teola Porch. I live in District 3. And I'm here to speak on I'm sorry, I didn't acknowledge Mayor and Council. I'm here to speak on the parent ordinance. And I sat there and I wrote notes because I didn't want to forget something. You know, the headline grabbing thing is lock the parent up. But I don't think that's what my councilman's intention is. But once we do whatever we pass, and we get the parents on board, we can't leave them out there. We've got to get with them. We got to allow the school board for additional programs. And some of the schools, if you're not a football player, baseball player, or basketball player, and if a kid has a discipline problem, they're just left aside. I had my son in the 100 Black Men. He played golf. He ran into one of the coaches at Creekside. He said, I didn't know you played golf. He said, yeah. He said, bring the Cubs to school and I work with you. He worked with him. They went over to Wolf Creek to a tournament. And I know in golf the score is supposed to be low, but their score was high, but they were in the tournament. And then the football players started being interested in it, and they started playing golf. He didn't have new golf clubs. I know they are expensive, but I also had him in archery. All the different things, and when you have kids in school and they are in detention, if they get 10 days out, they are in the street, they don't have anything to do. So my suggestion, and for the school board, look at some of these. Look at golf, archery, and punishment for them might be, well, since you're in detention, we're going to take you out here and have you to do some archery or some golf. and they be like, well, I don't want to be an archery and golf, and that sport is not a one-race sport. Everybody can play. If you go over by Merck Road, oh, the time is up. But they have targets where they play archery and the kids will go there and shoot. It's a great game. Thank you.
Following Ms. Glenda Collins, Ms. Tracy Rowell, and Mr. Jarman Bryant are the last two speakers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. District 5, Bellwood Community Association. I have concerns regarding the employment of the city manager. It appears as though we have a situation where we cannot decide or cannot find a qualified person with the expertise that we need for our city in its entity. However, since we have such a problem, we really need to look at outsourcing this position so that we can move on and make the city viable, and so that everything will fall in place within a timely manner. Also, I was here for the MARTA presentation. Now, I have some problems. The problem is, MARTA would like to increase your taxes to run all these businesses on the street. So, of course, he didn't say that. Another thing is, MARTA does not keep up their buses and their trains at this point. So you're looking at putting thousands of more people on these buses and trains, and the maintenance is not kept up. There's a safety issue with MARTA. It was not discussed tonight. No one even brought it up. Now, if you're going to pay your money to ride something, you want to feel safe. There have been 2 incidents of people with guns on the MARTA train in the past few days. 1 man got shot. And another thing, they want to bring these buses. Will there be parking rides? Do you ride? Do you drive to the parking ride? Where do you park to catch all these buses? Thank you.
There are no other speakers. If those speakers have comments.
I thought it was somebody before. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tracy Rowell. I reside in Regency Hills in District 1. I had a comment regarding some of the things that have been occurring in the city, and I wrote my notes down as well. Most of us are very excited and are still excited about the city and local control. We knew that it wasn't going to be easy. We knew it was going to be a lot of work. And almost a year later, we're moving forward. We are making progress. But for me, it's as a business owner who spends my own money to make my business grow, because I don't have money entrusted to me, it's important that we put the right people in place. I say that because sometimes there are factors that everyone is not privy to. If you want to build greatness, you have to put great people who are invested in what you're doing. I read a book a long time ago, Jim Collins wrote, called Good to Great. In order for you to build greatness, you have to get the right people on the bus. That may mean some people have to be left behind because they may not fit the bill. But if you want to build greatness, you have to have the right people. Also, as a business owner who wanted to run successfully, I looked at Ritz-Carlton's method. Their turnaround is about 20%, which is unheard of in an industry of the hotels. But what they do is they put the right people in place. They use testing, which I did as an Allstate agent. Mr. Edwards, you were one as well. I did testing. I've always had retention in my business because I put the right people in place. Ritz-Carlton put people who are naturally qualified, but not only that, they're fair and they're vested in what we're doing. We have a lot of issues, and some people don't always like the decisions that are made, but as a builder, you have to make hard decisions. And I think that we need to make hard decisions, and we need to make sure that we're not just doing turnaround. We don't want any more tryouts. We need to have the right people in place.
Chairman Bryant, District 5.
As always, I speak from the citizen side. There's a lack of transparency that I see. Like I just found out at 3 o'clock this afternoon about the new nominee for the city manager. And what I'd like to ask the whole council to put, if you have a newsletter or a email list or whatever, a website or whatever, make it public to everybody, because this information should be coming out a couple hours before a meeting. And that's why we get so many rumors. There's a lot of rumors. That's my first statement I wanted to make. But the other is, as far as there's a lot of angst that I didn't even know was out this bad about the firm that was dismissed or however that was done, which I found out today also, and that was from, I think, Ms. Gilyard's. Something that was sent out a month ago, and somebody finally sent me today about the firm being changed. I'm speaking from the public side again. I've had some interaction with employees that have been around in positions for a long time, and none of them has been good. None of them has been respectful. I'm not saying this firm is like that, but I'm saying I like the idea that there's a new start for the city, because the city has not started. It's supposed to be a year old now, but until all these services come over, we're really not a new city. And I like the idea of being able to have a new firm, a new batch of everybody to represent the city, because there are some old ideals and connections and people that didn't want this to be a city. They're still employed by the city. So thank you.
Thank you.
No further speakers.
Next.
Next item for business, number 8 on page 2, nominations, consideration of city manager finalist.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a little different than what you used to seeing. You're used to seeing us leave this at this point in time and go in the back room, talk about something, and come back here and tell you what we talked about. We're not going to do that today. We're going to be open, transparent, and honest. Let your hand be raised where it should be raised. It is my job, and there's no disrespect to anybody here. It is my job as mayor to bring a candidate and negotiate the salary of that candidate to be brought back before this board for confirmation. I have done my job 2 times. And 2 times we have brought people for this job have been qualified people. But for whatever reason, at the last minute, they had reasons. At the last minute, they chose not to be employed by the city of South Fulton. We can no longer go along. The responsibilities are getting too high. The workload is getting too heavy. And we got to have someone to run the day-to-day operation of this government. I have not yet, since May 1st, had an opportunity to be mayor. So all I want is the opportunity to be mayor. I don't want to be city manager. I don't want to be communications director. I just want to be mayor. And the only way I get to be mayor is that we put someone in that's competent. And let me segue into this. Ladies and gentlemen, people out there who are great in this responsibility and this task, there are a lot of them. The A and B people who do these kinds of jobs as city manager, there are a lot of them. But guess what? They have jobs. And you're in the place where you got to lure them from their jobs. I call them A-B qualified people. We can't get the A-B qualified people, we get the C-D. CD qualified people don't have no jobs. They're looking for somewhere to land, an opportunity. I think I have brought 2 AB qualified people to this table. Tonight, I'm bringing another one. I am bringing another one. If this nomination doesn't go through, I don't know. I don't know. Because the bucket of AB is getting low. And the CD is waiting for a job. So at that, having said that, I want to introduce to you a person who's nationally recognized as a leader in government administration and is responsible for over 3,000 people. He has experienced government administration. He's an experienced government administrator responsible for the implementation of local, state, and federally funded programs, budget development and administration, economic development, strategic planning, and performance management. Excellent relationship builder and strategic business partner with a strong ability to communicate effectively and influence across all operational levels and functions. Recognized for the delivery of high-quality reporting, analysis, and service presentations to boards, business leaders, elected officials, general governmental agencies, and key communication stakeholders. He is a graduate of Georgia State University, and he holds an MBA. He's also, even though he works in Washington, D.C., he's also a member of this community. He goes back to D.C. once every other week, where he works in the government of District of Columbia for Mayor Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C. He wants to come home, and he wants to be a part of this city. I pray that my colleagues tonight, that they listen to him, accept him, and let's get on with the business of running this city. And before I go any further, I would like our legal counsel to just share with us the importance of making a decision.
Mayor, I have stressed to everyone on council as soon as I was appointed that your charter
Put your phones on silent, please.
That your charter clearly anticipates that for this city to function properly, that you will have effective and competent city manager in place. A lot of your struggles this far have been contributed to, I would say, significantly due to the lack of that head, that administrative head to oversee, to organize. There is liability with having the mayor have so many roles with council, so my recommendation to the mayor was to step aside and allow someone to serve in that city manager capacity, and that recommendation was based just on existing case law, your charter, what the Georgia Municipal Association and the Supreme Court has ruled on this issue. So my recommendation would be whether you accept the mayor's nomination or any nomination tonight, that you move expeditiously and at your earliest convenience to put an administrative head in place for South Fulton.
Thank you so much. And having that been said, ladies and gentlemen, introduce to you the Department of Employment Services for Washington, D.C., Mr. Odie Donald II. Odie, can you hear him? I can't hear him. Hold on, Odie, because we have a box. Huh? Unmuted.
I'm unmuted.
Odie, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
All right, well, good evening. I've been paying attention, watching on Facebook group and checking out this very lively council meeting today. So I think, you know, Mayor Edwards kind of read you my resume, but I think there are about 3 things before I'd like for council to ask me whatever they'd like and
and you understand that I'm the guy to run your city. I think you've got three things that this city has to do, and I'm the right person to do that. I think the first thing is, improving government operations is your #1 job. Of course, I think it's been in the paper and everybody already knows that starts with your police chief. And so those transitions are coming up well. I think you look at my track record when it comes to acquiring and retaining talent, I don't think there's anybody else better in the country. I also say when it comes to establishing customer service standards, everywhere I've been, we've been #1 in the country. Whether I was in Atlanta, whether I was in Fulton County where I got my start, Savannah, or now District of Columbia, we're not just talking about local programs, we're talking about world class, and that's just what I do and everywhere I've been. I think the second big thing that the city of South Fulton also has to really look at is the person that comes to run your city has to be personally invested. I'm from the west side of Atlanta, grew up playing basketball at Bird. There are people in the crowd right now that I've grown up with that came out, whether they live in South Fulton, around South Fulton, work in South Fulton, or support South Fulton, because they know I'm invested in your city. And my track record shows that no matter where I live and work, I'm invested in a way that is different than what you've ever seen before. I'd also say, I think the third thing is there have been some questions on somebody managing a city or having city manager experience. So I want to make something very clear. I run a $220 million organization with about $80 million in capital projects. When it comes to workforce and economic development, there's nobody better in the country. Not only is that evidenced by my role on 4 of the most important national organizations, including the U.S. Conference of Mayors, as well as NASWA, the National Association of State Workforce Agencies, where I'm the youngest executive board member probably in their history, and the only African American that is serving, meaning I'm giving guidance to the state workforce agencies and labor commissioners for the United States of America, not just the District of Columbia. In addition to that, the purpose of the city of South Fulton is self-realization. And so that self-determination is based in economic development. It is creating opportunity, jobs and attraction, and partnership, not just the nuts and bolts of running government, which I also do extremely well. And so I would tell you to look at my track record, but more than anything, I want you to know about my commitment to South Fulton and the whole metropolitan area. 2 children still in the area, my family is there, and I spend more time in Atlanta serving on boards, committees, and other activities than potentially folks that live there. And so what you would get in me is a nationally recognized person, which is a big signal that South Fulton is open for business, and you are.
Any comments? Questions, comments?
Mr. Donald, looking at your resume, you have an extensive background in workforce development. Can you speak to maybe the 3 or 4 key skills, because it is a different challenge in terms of running a city, but can you talk about what transferable skills related to your background in workforce development in the city manager position?
Absolutely. So I would say that, not only has it been workforce development and economic development, it's been government administration. So just using my current agency, I oversee 700 employees, some of which are union employees, the bulk of which are union employees. In addition to that, unemployment insurance as well as paid family leave falls under me. That means that there is revenue and tax collection, so I'm extremely experienced in that. I also say our unemployment insurance for tax collection and benefit distribution, which again, when you look at the local option sales tax and some of the things that you have pending, we went from worst to first. So we were on at risk by the U.S. Department of Labor and Congress for those programs. And in my tenure, we are not only had those designations removed, we're actually rated #1 in the country and have made history over the last 12 months. I think high-level reporting is something that I'm also very good at, and I would say providing transparency is a big thing that I'm hearing a lot in South Fulton. And I think transparency revolves around innovation and the delivery of government services in situations where there may be cash flow problems or various transitions. But the most important transferable skill we have is that I'm a winner, and I win everywhere I go. I think every place that I've taken on, whether it's been Fulton County during my time there, where we had the unsuccessful drive program, which we turned around, whether it was going to the technical college system of Georgia, where we had funding issues of over $7.5 million in unspent revenue that had to be expended within a certain period of time, which we successfully did under a tight time frame, or going down to the city of Savannah and aligning their economic development and workforce development structure, or standing up a workforce system in the District of Columbia, rated #56 of all states, and for the purposes of workforce development, they're on the 54th, so we had to be pretty terrible, as now I think we're #1. And so I'd say that everywhere I go, it is government administration, it is aligning, it is taking a vision and providing leadership. And more than anything, I think that's what you need, and I think that transferable skill of being a leader, a winner, and someone that implements appropriately is what I bring to the table.
Hi, Mr. Donald.
Hi, Mr. Donald. I have a few questions. The first question is, according to the charter, the city manager reports to the council. The city manager has an interaction with the mayor. So, what would you do in a situation where the city council is expecting you to do A, and the mayor asks you to do B? How are you going to make the decision what you're going to do?
I don't think that's a challenge for me at all. I mean, I'm very clear on the reporting structure and thinking I have to operate and manage the city within the charter and within the law. I'm an administrator first. And so I administer programs, deliver services, and all of those things within the appropriate parameters. Now, what I will say is that looking at the coordination in the city of South Fulton, what you're missing is somebody that can connect the dots and really bring you guys together. And so I report to the city, to the city council, you know, the mayor does have a very strong role, and all of you guys are elected officials, and the true people that we all report to are the residents. And so I think my is that if there's something that I'm supposed to do within the charter, then we're going to deliver and we're going to do it. But I'm also there to also provide advice, guidance, and leadership to both of you.
Thank you very much. My second question is, why do you want to come and work for us, especially after looking at Facebook and YouTube at our meetings?
It's funny, me and Bowser asked me the same thing. I think I had the best job, my dream job, when I was leaving the state's workforce system there, serving under the now AG, Chris Carver was the commissioner then. And I left to go to DC, leaving my family, which I love more than anything, behind, and really, you know, serve people that look like me and take the abilities that I have to really impact the community that I very much relate to. And so this is an opportunity to take that to another level. Here in the District of Columbia, so I don't want to get it twisted, I'm that 8th person that Mayor Edwards talked about. I've spoken to my mayor prior to taking this opportunity of coming together to even be nominated. but I still have a job. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm the best in the business at this, and there's no doubt about it. But I'm a Georgia boy, an Atlanta boy, a South Fulton, Ruby person through and through. And I believe that I can help South Fulton grow and take the direction that it needs to go to. And I also think, you know, it's my home. And I don't think I'm overstepping by saying you need help, you need leadership, feel like I'm the guy to do it.
So this is my last question. If you were confirmed, how long would it take you to come and work for us? When could you actually start?
Well, so, I mean, you may not know it, but I've been working for the city of South Fulton for 2 weeks without pay. I think is a quality friend of mine. I think she would have been a great administrator, and you know, I helped her kind of prepare and think through some of these things. I think, you know, over a period of time, I've had some conversations with a variety of different business owners and people in the city of South Fulton, and so when I report and when I start working, it's two different things. I think I'm invested in the city and had really no clue that it was going to work out this way. I'm just invested in what's going on there. I would say also, I'm a loyal guy, so my mayor has been excellent to me. And you know, she's winning right now, and I want to keep her winning, so I do have to talk to her and make sure that I can transition appropriately. But I'm also paying very close attention to the transition of the police department, of those police services. So my hope would be to be there in advance of that, or be very engaged in an official capacity prior to that transition.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you.
Ms. Miller?
Hello, Mr. Donald. This is Councilwoman Helen Willis from District 3 in the city of South Fulton. I have a couple of questions. As you know, that we do have to have our transition complete by November of 2018, and you did mention that our police is the next major department to transition over. And from there, we do have parks, we still have to transition, and we also have public works. In addition, we do have to stand up a utility, which is our sanitation and our sanitation service. And so in saying all of that, I want to know, day one that you are here, what is your strategy to get us moving forward to complete our transition by November 2018?
So I think one of the first things that I would do, or you know, that I started doing, is creating you've got to have a transition plan. So I think you have those dates, but not only will we have a transition plan, but an implementation plan. And I think also including a dashboard that both council and the public can see our progress and what those major milestones are. I think that's one of the things, is really kind of putting that out there and establishing it. While you do have a variety of different dates that are pending, you know, the big one is based around that sanitation portion because it's vital to the local option sales tax, and you know, that's at $20 million and the ability to be able to qualify for that. So I think that's one of my main focuses and areas that I've been looking at and researching now. But I think the first thing is putting together very quickly that transition and subsequent implementation plan, getting the right talent in the right seats very quickly, and then just implementing. I think, you know, I won't harp on my past experience before, but I've never taken an opportunity that didn't have this much pressure or more. So I'm kind of used to operating in this now.
Thank you. The second question I have is, what you heard, you said you've been watching our council meeting tonight, and you heard a lot of residents say that they want us to do better with working as a team. And so what strategy would you take to help this council build consensus and work better as a team, as the several residents spoke about this evening?
So I think, I'm a relationship guy. I'm kind of a serial partnership person. I mean, so I would meet with every council member, hopefully in advance of my official first day, but of course I'm in the district, so that logistically may or may not be possible for everybody. But I think really kind of finding out what everybody's individual vision is. Like, you do have a city, and self-determination is the key piece that I think we all have a consensus on. Each district or ward has its own special and unique circumstances, and so you have a constituency base that you also have to satisfy. I am no stranger to the requirements that public officials have to have with very short time before you guys, first time elected, have to be up to make sure you satisfy your constituency base. I also say that, the mayor also has a very key role and has been elected as the person that's leading the city. And so together, you have to find a common ground, and the administrative portion really, I believe, has been a barrier or a burden on the way you guys partner. And so I kind of fit into the middle there and make sure that there's somebody kind of taking the brunt of that responsibility, but also making sure that all of your individual needs are connected. Now, that doesn't mean, I want to be clear, I'm a manager, so I won't be lying down for anybody. I'll be serving everyone. But I think that there's a middle ground and an alignment between you guys that I can help you come to, as long as that's what you as a body are invested in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Donald, how are you?
I'm very well.
Okay. Can you, I got it. Okay. We have a unique situation here. And right now we have our mayor as well as he's the city manager. So on day one, for me, what would you do as far as going to the staff? How would you address them in redirecting them versus going to the mayor and having them to come to you?
So I won't be too frank. I'll just say, leadership is not something that is difficult for me. And so I'm telling staff now that the bus stop. I don't have to until I get there. And I think, I won't be too ornery, but I know there's some people in the crowd now, and you should find them. I know this is on public record, so I won't say their names, but there's people from the Georgia Department of Economic Development there. There are a couple other folks who work with me and for me at Fulton County, and they'll tell you now, you enjoy working for me, but there's no question on who you would report to. Now, that doesn't just go for the mayor, though. So they work with me. And so, I just think we all should be on the same page there, because there's one person that you're picking to manage the city, and that means they're also managing the staff. And so staff should know and understand that today, if you confirm me, and they will become clearer on the way that we'll operate on my first day, if not before.
Okay, my second question, if you have any concerns with staff, well, not staff, council, mayor and council, how would you address that? Versus you, say, turning around, walking away, how would you address that so that it could be addressed?
Also, I attack things head on. So I will say that, I think I've paid very close attention to what's going on in the city of South Fulton. Same thing in the District of Columbia. I'm a head-on manager and leader, and not necessarily, I don't believe in being abrasive, but I do believe in being frank and straightforward. And so you can't really address a problem unless you sit down with somebody, you have a conversation. I don't do well with the rumor mill or, any of the I guess, hullabaloo or whatever you want to call it. So I think, the same way I would start off, which is sitting down with each person and finding out what your needs and insights and desires are, I'd also bring those issues to you directly. Now, I do believe in, the legislative process and the administrative process and coordinating within the charter, the rules, the policies and procedures, but I also believe in sitting down. I don't drink, but you know, somebody having an adult beverage while I have my cold water, and we kind of figure out, you know, where we can meet in the middle.
But the bottom line, I guess what I'm trying to ask you, if you do not get your results in that manner, you would bring it to council?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think transparency is something that you have to do. If there's something that's going to restrict me from delivering the appropriate services and serving those residents, you know, we attempt to handle it behind closed doors and in a certain manner, but if it can't be handled that way, then absolutely. I mean, we've got to put it out on the table because there's no choice in being successful.
Thank you.
This is Councilman Gilyard, Old National. First, I just want to thank our mayor for allowing this to be public. I think everyone knows how important transparency is to me, so thank you, Mayor, for that. And thank you, Mr. Donald, for being with us virtually tonight. Many of us will be in D.C. next week for the National League of Cities, so I hope that we get to meet you there. My first question is a simple one. My second one is a little bit more complex. But my first question, which I ask all of our candidates, is have you read our city charter? And do you have any thoughts or concerns about it?
So the initial version, I think I saw some things that needed to be cleaned up, and since then I've received an updated version. I think one of the areas that I saw was the voting piece, and I think I had a conversation about that. There were about 3 areas that I saw some improvements that could be made, but I believe those, you guys had already rectified those on your own. I think there's also one area related to, and I'm not sure if this is in the charter, another document that I read about an unincorporated parcel where there's an issue around police services. So I think I have some suggestions, recommendations, and a course of action, which I probably wouldn't have that conversation here publicly, but it's an area that I saw. I tell you, I also saw an area related to the employment of the city manager, which, you know, I have some recommendations on, but I think as far as I'm concerned, prior to the charter being done, I'd be able to coordinate that through the negotiation process with the mayor.
And my second question is a little bit about my concern. So if you've been watching the media, you know that we changed city attorney, so there's a little preference I want to give about that. And although there's a lot of agita in our community about annexations, there are several other things that our attorneys have to do. And we did get an attorney that specializes just in municipal government. They work in 8 cities and several counties. And so while your resume is impeccable in terms of economic development, there are several other issues that go along with managing a city, legal issues, interacting with county, state, and even federal government. And so my question is, it appears that you haven't been a city manager, so you've never been a city manager in any city, anywhere, or even an assistant city manager. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
You're correct. I'd say I want you to look at that resume and those credentials a little closer, though. Okay. I mean, I'd say it's duly, with all due respect, I'd say that this is the first time that Mayor Edwards has been the mayor. I think it's the first time that you guys have been city council persons. Thankfully, I would also say, you know, Bill Gates, you look at the gentleman, Dick Anderson at Fulton County, government is government, and more so, you know, management, providing visionary leadership, but also understanding the nuts and bolts of government. So, look close, I'm not just an economic developer, so I manage a staff right now of 700, which is a very large, but we've got a standalone IT function that is managing a $20 million modernization project for UI, which hasn't been successful in any of the other states that have attempted to do it. Look at Paid Family Leave. There are only 4 programs in the country. Not only is there technology process of that, there's tax and revenue collection. When you look at even in our customer service and operations piece, you know, I'm giving you a little bit of the secret sauce, but our customer service bill of rights, which is on our website, and if you look at our customer service report, which is just published and we'll be making extremely public over the next week, is being implemented across the District of Columbia. So while I tout and I'm recognized for being the absolute best when it comes to economic development and workforce development, please don't be confused that I am an administrator first. And so whenever you read about me anywhere, and there's plenty of material out there, the first thing you read is that I am a highly acclaimed and duly respected administrator, not an economic development and workforce professional. So there's a delineation.
Thank you, and that is, I appreciate that answer, and you're absolutely right. Because we have a mayor that's never been a mayor, and we have city council people that have never been city council people, and we've hired several department heads that haven't been municipal department heads either. I think it is so important that our next few hires are people that have experience. So when you encounter a situation or an issue where you need guidance, where would you go to get that guidance?
Well, a variety of different places, and that's actually a really great question. But I think my current city administrators, I also want to make it clear, I'm not leaving under duress. I have great relationships in every place that I've been. I'm sure I can return anywhere else that I wanted to go. But so I would call, you know, the CFO at the Georgia Department of Economic Development. I call the city of Savannah. I talked to my current city administrator, who is one of the youngest and most acclaimed and overseeing a $14 billion government. So I'm sure he can give me some advice on what's going on down in Georgia. I'd also say that, you know, I'm a member of the U.S. Congress of Mayors and also on their board of directors and their workforce development committee, the Georgia Municipal Association. I mean, there are a variety of different places, but also people that I'm connected to. In addition to that, so a manager doesn't, I'm not going to be out there personally fighting crime. I'm going to hire the appropriate person and the correct person. You know, when it comes to the COO or the CFO, they're going to be some of the best. And so, again, you follow my track record, talent follows me because they know they're going to win, and they're also going to be taken care of appropriately. And so I'm going to also go internally to those subject matter experts who are also the best and the brightest.
Thank you very much, City DC.
Ms. Rowell? Any further questions? Well, I'm sorry.
Well, actually, it's just a question because I want to ask, are we expected to make the decision right now?
Yes. Okay, Already, thank you so much for spending the time with us and sharing the conversation not only with us, but to our constituents who've heard you loud and clear. And I appreciate you. Any closing remarks you want to make?
I guess I would like to close out by just saying, you know, I want to be in the city of South Fulton. You know, I believe that I am not only the person that is qualified enough, but I want to be there. And there's no disrespect to anybody else and any other decisions that they are. I have the best workforce development job in the country. I am the equivalent of the Georgia Labor Commissioner and your Economic Development Commissioner combined. And I had my conversation with my city administrator prior to, I'm going to have another conversation with my mayor, but I have been offered an opportunity that you could not come up with to stop me from coming there. But I'm committed and invested in having my children in the city of South Fulton, my home in the city of South Fulton, and I'm going to spend every waking moment that I have making sure that it is the greatest city that it can be in the vision of what our residents want. And so, unless you have someone else who can step up and has a proven track record of delivering, because I won't lose, I believe you should be compelled to give me the opportunity to serve with and for you.
All right, thank you so much, Odie. Okay. That's the nominee. At this point, I would entertain a motion. That's the nominee that was brought forth by me as mayor. At this point, if there's agreements, I will accept the motion.
Speak up.
Go ahead.
I said that is my nominee as mayor, and at this time I would accept a motion.
I make a motion that we accept. Oh, it's off, that's why. I make a motion that we accept Odie Donald as mayor of the city of South Fulton.
That's a pretty good motion. I'm sorry. Please come get me.
As city manager of the city of South Fulton.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
So, over the past few months, we have spent $18,000 in an unsuccessful executive city manager search. All of us pledged to be fiscally responsible with your tax dollars. We have also had 2 withdrawals from very valuable candidates. Once they went through the interview process, once they interviewed with the council and the mayor, for whatever reason, they decided to stay where they are and not move forward with the process and withdraw their candidacy. Currently, we are paying $568,960 in non-agency costs. We are paying Public Works, we are paying and this is the cost that we are paying Fulton County to provide services for us. Public Works, Parks and Rec, and police are what we're paying in non-agency costs. So the quicker we get our departments transition to the city, this non-agency cost goes away. Leadership is what this candidate just displayed. He understands margins, he understands budget, and he understands strategy. He leads 3 times the amount of staff that he would be leading in South Fulton. Directors are supposed to have the subject matter expertise. Our city manager, we need the city manager to focus on budget strategy, working with city council, and being that liaison. The time is now, the time is here. We need a city manager. I think that our mayor has put before a qualified candidate. We don't need any candidates with baggage. Yesterday, we were sent 3 resumes from one of my colleagues, and every last one of those individuals have baggage. We have a candidate that has been put before us that has no baggage, who's currently working, who simply said that he's happy on his job. He has a lot to offer. He's homegrown. He graduated from Frederick Douglass High School. He graduated from Georgia State University. And I think we need to bring him home to move this city forward. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Lastly, I would say to my colleagues, think hard and long. We need this. We truly need this. The pool of respected and responsible people is not that deep anymore. And we got so much stuff that we have to do to get to move forward. This is an exceptional young man. And that's why I want to bring it public, because I want you all to see that this is an exceptional young man.
Yes, he is.
And to do the job that we need to do. So I'm almost begging my colleagues. I'm almost begging my colleagues. please take in consideration and let your heart guide you on this one. I have another comment from Councilwoman Gunn.
This is one of the most important decisions that we can make for our city. This is not something where we continue to play games. This is not something about where we're going to be playing and toying with someone's livelihood. This is serious business. And what we've been doing for the past 8 months has been pulling strings and playing games. And playing games with the residents here of this city. I am committed to making sure that you get the best possible person for the city of South Fulton. But I refuse to continue to play games up on this dais. And that is what we do every single day. I'm sorry some of you don't believe that, but guess what? It does happen. But Mayor, I'll stand with you today. I'll stand with you, but I promise you I will hold your feet to the fire about the city manager if this does not go the way that it needs to go. I'm trusting in you and your leadership to move this city forward. And I'm trusting this gentleman to bring us to a consensus. But I am dead serious about this city. We got to stop playing games and move forward.
Well, I thank you that you can put the fire out.
I'm not going to put the fire out, but I promise you I will hold your feet to the fire.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Gunn. But I hear you, and I guess I'll take that.
I'm going to also say that I looked at Mr. Donald, and I did have another name, somebody that was a city manager coming with that. But I trusted the mayor once, and I'm going to trust you again. But I'm with Ms. Gunn, because I'm the one that brought something else to the table before, and I will bring it again if this does not work. I want to see something happen. We promised our citizens in South Fulton the right thing, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. I have no problem with whatever. You can say what you want to say about me, but I'm going to speak my mind, and I'm going to say what I mean, and I'm going to mean what I say, so you don't have to go back on it no more. But I appreciate what you all have done. You put it together, you brought it out here to say, okay, before you, but if it don't work, don't look at me. I'm going with the leader, because it starts at the top and it falls down. So I'm going with the leader.
Okay, move forward. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I want to say something about games. Thank you very much, Councilwoman Gumbs. This is my first elected office other than being a delegate. And one of the things that I have come to believe is that the root of all political malfeasance is the idea that you have to get reelected. So people will say whatever they need to say to get your applause. They will vote however they want to vote to get your applause. People are very, your applause, you're clapping or you're booing, like that sways a lot of folks, because a lot of folks are worried about getting reelected. Oh, wow. I think that what's wrong with our political system is that people worry about that too much. So I want to let you know that I ran for this office because I was interested in the startup of the city and building this city. I have a 4.5-year term, and I believe that if I can contribute to the building of the city, I can do that in 4.5 years. And if I can't do it in 4.5 years, then I don't need to be here. I'm not one of these people that's going to sit in office forever. So I'm letting you know now that I have no intention of running for this office again. So how I vote tonight, or how I vote any night, will not be influenced by me trying to stay in this seat. I'm just here to do what I believe is right. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm sorry, Mr. Baker.
The mayor brought us out here. We have a candidate. I'm happy to have a candidate, if I'm being honest. he may have been one of the best candidates that I've seen come before me since we started the process. But I want to be clear, and I don't want anybody out here to be rocked to sleep with fake transparency. Because the reality of it is, I got this guy's resume hours ago. We spent $18,000 of your money for a process. $18,000 of your money for a process. After we spent that $18,000, we let 3 people up here interview people, and we ended up with finalists. And when we ultimately got those people, the ones that we picked didn't want to be here. The mayor did his job, he bring us a nominee. Anna Roach would have probably got a unanimous decision up here. She pulled out Sunday. I feel like everybody else, we had a time to study this person, to get to know this person. I love y'all, but I'm not moved by emotion. So it's one of those things, to be radically honest, that my unreadiness is just because I measured twice and cut once. If this young man passes, I'm going to support him. But I'm going to be overt that I can't raise my hand because I haven't had an opportunity past a couple hours to read his resume.
We got it when we got it.
Excuse me, Mr. Baker has the floor.
Actually, I'm not. After business hours last night, it was sent. I didn't open this resume until today, prior to coming to this office. And it's one of those things, whereas this is a decision that's too big to make just because we're in front of y'all, as if we should move different, because you guys didn't see anybody else. So I don't feel the pressure that many of my colleagues may feel, but I hope this guy is everything, because I know the temperature of the people who I'm working with, and he's going to pass, and I'm going to celebrate him, I'm going to work with him, but my integrity won't allow me to raise my hand at this time, just because I haven't had enough time to see anything. Everything comes out about all of these people with the discretion after a couple of days. I just don't know, and I can't stand with this candidate if I have to make a decision that's going to be permanent for this city right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to entertain, excuse me, I'm going to do one more conversation. We still have a long agenda. And Ms. Woods, you can speak this last comment I'm going to take, and then we go.
Well, I didn't have an opportunity to, I didn't have an opportunity to study the attorney, but we have a new attorney, and I'm trusting our legal process. And I'm trusting that my colleagues in majority voted to change the legal attorney, and I'm moving forward. So I ask that we just vote and we move forward.
Okay.
That's not true. No comparison.
Let's vote, please. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 6, well, that passes. Mr. Odie McDonald, the 32nd, is our new city manager. Mr. Clerk, did you get the yeas and the nays?
5 days, 2 days.
You get the people? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, Mr. Clerk, go ahead.
All right. Zoning modifications and variances. This is our first.
I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk, I can't hear you. I guess people who came for the city manager show are leaving, and we just need a moment for it to die down.
I don't think that was appropriate. We got another agenda, some more agenda items to cover tonight, so please bear with us. Go ahead, Mr. Burke.
Okay, the first zoning case is a request for modification M17-003Applicant Mawal Incorporated seeks a modification from conditions identified in Zoning Case Z73-065 for property located at the west intersection of Roosevelt Highway and Jones River Road. Ms. Reed.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. The item before you is a modification to a case that was heard back in 1973 with the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County. During that rezoning, the property was rezoned from AG1 to M1. The adjacent property at that time was also AG1. If I can go back and explain to you, M1 is a light industrial piece of property and AG1 is an agricultural residential. Current day, both properties have both rezoned to M1. A condition was placed to place a 50-foot buffer along the property to protect the adjacent AG1 property, as I mentioned. However, it's no longer AG1. Both properties are M1. Therefore, that buffer is no longer needed, and staff is recommending the approval of that 50-foot buffer being removed.
So M1 to M1 with no requirement for a buffer. Had the others, if you had another category, there was a requirement.
That is correct.
And now it's M1 to M1, there's no requirement. Okay.
That is correct, sir. And the applicant is present if you have any questions about the property.
Any questions?
And what was the need?
Oh, go ahead.
And what was the need to remove the 50-foot buffer?
Okay, so the 50-foot buffer was placed because originally during the first rezoning of the property, there was a residential piece that was sitting next to it. That's what AG1 is. It's a residential piece of property. That property has since rezoned to M1. So both properties are now industrial. There's no need to protect one use from the other if they're both alike.
Any further questions?
Yes, I have a question. So, you know, this is a sensitive issue for me. Because if there was a buffer between me and the coal project, my backyard won't be flooded. So, my question is, I want to ensure that if we vote on this, will there never be a residential community near this?
So there's a residential piece to the rear. There's a 100-foot buffer that will protect that piece of property. So the rear, if I don't have a pointer, I'm sorry, but if you go to the actual rear of that property, that's more the northern piece. You have a pointer? Yeah, there we go. So there's a residential piece back here. There's a 100-foot buffer there. That's going to protect that. This is an existing industrial piece of land that has a 50-foot buffer there that's unnecessary at this time. When or if this property is ever rezoned, it goes before you for your approval. Therefore, it's something you can consider at that time.
Okay, so the recommendation is to move that 50-foot buffer, and you don't feel that that buffer is needed. It is. And removing that buffer will not cause any drop-off to any of the residential communities. It's far enough.
Right, that property is at least a 100-foot undisturbed buffer will be in the rear of the property to where the residential piece will not be touched.
Okay.
100 feet.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the modification to Zoning Case Z73-065 for property located at the west intersection of Roosevelt Highway and Johns River Road.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That passes unanimously, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Council.
First resolution, I think this is this is one that's come back several times. A resolution of the City of South Fulton regarding the South Fulton Community Improvement, CID, and the providing effective date. That's Resolution 217-061.
I think Mrs. Gilyard, was that Mrs. Gilyard's resolution? Mr. Baker, this is.
Yes, she's gone.
She's gone.
I'd like to make a motion to hold this item.
Second.
Properly moved and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Item is held, Mr. Clerk.
Page 3 of resolution, this is co-sponsored by Councilmembers Rowell and Gilyard, a resolution to develop a park, recreation, trail, and open space master plan for the city of South Fulton. That's resolution 2018-007.
This particular resolution seeks to align with one of the 5 priorities that the council identified when we developed our 18-month plan for the transition of the city. It is just calling for the development of a park, recreation, and open space master plan for the city of South Fulton. That's in essence what it is. So that we prioritize how we will make investments in this area and come up with a comprehensive plan.
Mr. Clerk, is this an action item? Yes. Okay. I'll entertain a motion if it's necessary.
I make a motion that we develop a park, recreation, trail, and open space master plan for the city of South Fulton.
I second.
Been properly moved and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. That passes unanimously, Mr. Clerk.
Next item under letter D, ordinances, sponsored by council members Rowell and Gumbs, an ordinance to adopt the City Smoke-Free Act of 2017.
I think we've discussed this a couple of times, and it's pretty simple, so I'm just asking for council support on the city of South Fulton being a smoke-free city. I make a motion that we go ahead and move forward and accept this. Oh, we do have to move it on, guys. Which section?
Are we okay?
Can we move forward and then come back to this one? Attorney Walker, can we move forward?
Yeah, you can make a motion to table it. And then when you want to reconvene, just move to.
Let's just move to the next item.
Yeah.
Yes.
We just move it to the next item, then come back, you're looking for an amendment to add.
Well, technically, you're supposed to.
Okay, I make a motion to table, the Smoke-Free Act of 2017, ordinance 2017-006.
I second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor? Any discussion, rather? Hearing none, all those in favor?
We're tabling it.
You tabling it?
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes, so I think that was unanimous, Mr. Clerk.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Roman numeral 2, also for second reading, sponsored by Councilmember Jackson under ordinance 2018-008, an ordinance defining the duties and powers of city department heads, providing for their appointment and for other purposes.
I'd like to add, Councilwoman Willis's name, co-sponsor.
Yes.
Yeah, do you want me to
Yes.
clarify? Okay, so this is page 113 of your agenda packet. And what I did is this was presented for first read at your last council meeting, and since then I have reviewed what was proposed, and I have made revisions to it just to make it clear as to what is being done through this process. So your charter provides that ordinarily the city manager would make the appointment process as far as hiring department heads and other personnel. However, that portion of the charter also gives you the discretion to reserve that authority for the council, and that's what this ordinance accomplishes. The transition section of your charter also says and anticipates that during the transition period, these initial positions may be at the discretion of the mayor and council. So this ordinance is discretional. If you want to make these first appointments for the major department heads, then you would be for this. And if you want to leave that exclusively to the city manager, then this would not accomplish that. Mayor?
You gonna do what?
So, the intent of this ordinance is to allow the city manager to make the appointment, bring a recommendation to the council, and then we have an opportunity to vote up or down.
That is correct. So he would bring you nominations.
So the city manager still will be in charge of vetting, hiring, going through that process of department heads. And the intent is to bring the recommendation of who they want to hire to the council before they make the final offer for us to have an opportunity to approve or
we can nominate department.
Council?
Well, this gives the city manager the responsibility to bring you nominations, but if you want to make a nomination yourself, you also have that authority under this is drafted.
Madam Council, I am totally confused. I'm totally confused. We just gave a man the responsibility of running this government, all right? And now we doing something like this. You know, I mean, let him run. I have called other cities on this. I can't find one city that does this.
Well, Your Honor, Hayville, Union City, Mayor, Hayville, Union City, and College Park. That was a request that
College Park.
That Ms. Jackson was concerned about.
Well, you can board it up before. I'm just saying.
I wanted to know.
Excuse me, I have the floor. All right. I'm just expressing my opinion. All right. That you're going to pay a man top dollar and everything to manage your city. Then you want to hold him hostage. Suppose he needs somebody tomorrow.
Okay.
He's got to wait. Wait a minute. He's got to wait to the board meeting to get him confirmed.
Well, multiple cities do not use this process, so you're not required to use this process. This is 100%. What I'm saying. You're right. This is 100% your discretion. It depends on whether the council wants to be able to make that nomination, or whether they want to leave it exclusively to the city manager's discretion. And it's your complete discretion to choose
I'm going to tell you
which one you'll do.
this is why folks don't want to work for us.
That's why we
Because we get too far down in the weeds as it pertains to administrative things that should be done by city managers. This is a personnel matter. And as for me, I'm not going to get involved with personnel matters, even though I can't vote. I'm not going to get involved with personnel matters. That's what I'm paying him some over $200,000 for.
I'm sorry.
We haven't discussed that.
We haven't. Is that what we're doing?
No, we're not.
Okay.
I totally agree with the mayor on this. I do think this would have made sense.
Well, actually, just for parliamentary procedure, you guys were asking legal questions, so now you need to put a motion on the table, and then each individual will go through.
What?
I don't think there was a motion to do anything, so we would need a motion, and then each individual council member would give.
I would like to make a friendly amendment. How would I go about getting a friendly amendment to this ordinance?
The friendly amendments, so there really is no technical difference between a friendly or unfriendly. It's just you would make that amendment, and the council would vote whether they accept it or reject.
So do I make the amendment request before or after the motion?
You have to make it after, because she has to move, and then you have to amend to what she moved to. So if you, in fact, if anyone made a motion, then you can make an amendment to it.
I make a motion to accept the ordinance number 2018-008.
Is there a second? I second. Probably move to second. Discussion.
Yes, I move to make a friendly amendment, and that is to allow the city manager to go through the process of hiring and vetting, and bring the appointment before the council for us to vote up or down.
You accept? You accept? Just, still need a second? You got a second? It's been probably moved in second.
So for clarification, is your amendment to allow all nominations to come from the city manager?
Yes.
And then take away the allowance for councils to make that nomination?
Yes, let the city manager do the hiring, nominating, vetting of the department heads, and then bring before the city council to approve.
Okay.
So that's the full motion?
Yes.
It's been second.
And now you can discuss that and then vote whether to accept the amendment.
Councilman Khalid.
Yeah, I just want to make discussion. I just don't like when things are said in our meeting that are untrue. I don't think that we have had a problem attracting city managers, so I just want to say that for the record. Over 100 people applied for the position. I didn't have any of those 100 applications. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
I said, just, could you please just clarify the motion, repeat it back, just so I'm clear.
The motion is to accept the proposed ordinance by Councilwoman Jackson, with the exception that we will remove the ability for council members to nominate. And instead, the city manager shall provide those nominations, which the council shall confirm.
Right.
Councilwoman Rowell, please tell me.
Just follow up. So, again, the way you stated, I need clarity, because there are so many other things in here. So they're all gone now when we talk about removal, compensation, supervision.
No, the only thing that would be amended would be extracting out the council member's ability to give a nomination.
But you're not going to offer another amendment?
Well, you need to vote on Councilman Willis's amendment, and then if that's rejected, then you can vote on, you can move for your amendment.
I'll accept the motion. If one has not already been made.
She's
already been made?
She's already second.
Okay. All right, we're in discussion.
No, we're voting to her amendment.
Okay. All those in favor? That passes.
And now Councilman Rowell can propose another amendment.
I'm specifically referring to section F, removal, department heads and directors shall be subject to termination or discharge by a majority vote of the city council. The city manager or any member of the city council may recommend the termination or discharge of a director or department head. I'm specifically referring to section 4.10E of the charter, which says that the city manager may suspend or terminate directors or department heads so long as the city attorney reviews the facts supporting suspension or termination and concurs such action is appropriate before such action is taken. I think that would be more appropriate, and it comes specifically from our charter. And also, I want to make sure we're not violating Charter Section 3.2A, council interference with administration.
Yeah.
I have a question about that as well.
That was a statement. Was that to the attorney?
Yes, so the section that you're referring to, you were reading out of the city manager section that says it gives the city manager the authority to make those nominations. But that authority is clarified if you look to, if you have the charter in front of you, if you look to section 3.25, it says that the city manager's authority to do that is subject to being except as otherwise provided, and I'm reading line 733, except as otherwise provided by law or personnel ordinance. So this would be a personnel ordinance changing that general status that the charter provides.
I'm going to also refer to the training that me and two of my colleagues just attended with UGA, which basically spoke to the fact that any actions that would in fact amend the form of government we had, it really puts us at risk. And so this is the state mandated requirement for all municipal elected officials, and there's a whole body of case law on that too. So I'm concerned that we may be reaching a little bit based on everything I heard in that training.
Well, You are essentially the city manager's supervisor. So you don't amend the form of government by changing what you direct or don't direct him to do. You would be amending the form of government by changing your authority with respect to what you can do in the charter. So any council member's authority and the mayor's authority would be an amendment to the form of government. But what you dictate to the city manager is not a change to the form of government. This is just something that your charter says is optional. It says that your city manager will appoint and remove, and that he can do that to the extent that you provide otherwise.
I think we're, with all due respect, I don't see how we're pulling all these pieces when it's very clear in the charter in 4.2 about dealing with how you handle employees. And then, like I said, I just came out of training, and this is stuff that they emphasize. They had a whole section on employment case law. I'm not questioning her law degree, but I also know this is the state training that all municipal elected officials, and I'll be happy to share.
So what is the concern? Is the concern the council members making a nomination?
No, I don't have a problem with, no, again, with the hire and fire, reaching into the administration of the city, around the city manager. That's my concern. The nominations part is not really where I'm concerned about. That's the part specifically that I think we're getting on the slippery slope.
Well, you can leave termination completely to the city manager. That's your discretion. You can absolutely do that.
Finish.
Yeah, I want us to stick to what's in our current charter in section 4.10E.
Yes, so I would like to direct Councilwoman Rowell and our legislative council to section 7.16, line 1446, that says that we as a city council may appoint or remove officers and employees and exercise all necessary appropriate personnel and management functions during the transition period. So if we were to take this out, we still by charter have the ability through November to do exactly what.
That's what you just, and that's what we're doing. Right, but my point is, this absolutely made sense during the period we didn't have a city manager. So now we have appointed a city manager, and I don't want us reaching past the city manager. That's my concern.
No, I hear you. I'm just arguing that whether this remains in the ordinance or not, our charter gives us this power through November.
So if that's the case, do we even need it at all?
Exactly.
Well, your charter does not give you the power unless you adopt a personnel ordinance. So if you do not adopt this, then you do not have that authority. It is subject to you adopting the personnel ordinance.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You can please.
Yes, I support it.
So again,
I know that. Thank you.
I support the component where the finalists for the department heads come before the council for confirmation. I just think some of the other is getting sticky. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
I'm saying that to my council, and two of you were there. So, in addition, you know, one of the things is you got to look at you got to look at state law, you got to look at your charter, you got to look at it's like a lot. So I'm just saying, I think to keep it clean, you know, just not go too far with that.
But what I'm relying on is the expertise from our attorney that we just hired. And so she's the one with the law degree, and she's the one that's going to have to represent us in litigation. And so we have made, Councilwoman Jackson has accepted the friendly amendment to allow the city manager to do the hiring and do the nominating and present to the city council for us to vote up or down. I think that's a fair compromise, and I'm ready to vote.
Call for the previous question.
Call for the previous question. Move to previous question.
Do I have to second?
All right, there's a motion to move to previous questions. All in favor? That passes. Let's vote on the motion. We have to clear the motion again because y'all, all this legalese that got me all confused.
So you want me to repeat it?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion is to accept the personnel ordinance proposed by Councilwoman Jackson with the exception that the nominations for department heads and directors will come strictly from the city manager, subject to confirmation by the council.
Okay. All those in favor? That passes 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. Mr. Clerk?
Next. The next item is Roman numeral 4. For first reading, an ordinance to create title, and it has not yet been named, to establish the City of South Fulton Fire and Rescue Department and adopt the Fire Prevention Code and Safety Standards as ordinance 2018-009.
I'll entertain a motion. Oh, it's the first read? I'm sorry. Any comments? Next, Mr. Clerk.
How do we get the ordinances? What about the resolution? We skip the barricade?
We have to be added. Added though, we'll be added. Okay. Next, Mr. Clerk.
Okay. Also for first reading, an ordinance to establish standards and restrictions for excessive or unnecessary noise in the City of South Fulton and for other purposes. This is co-sponsored by Council Members Rowell and Guns under ordinance 2018-010.
Ladies, do you have any other comments?
Were we able to add that language in about silencing the sirens in residential areas?
Yes, I did get your correspondence on that. I would recommend that you do not. And the reason being is that there is a state statute and it's 4894, and I can read it to you if you want. It says, any authorized emergency vehicle may be equipped with a siren, whistle, or bell capable of emitting sound audible under normal conditions from a distance of not less than 500 feet, but such siren shall not be used except when such vehicle is operated in response to an emergency call or in the immediate pursuit of an actual or suspected violator of the law. So that's pretty much the essential part. What that does is it gives emergency personnel an unlimited right as long as the sound is not audible from more than 500 feet to use those sirens in any condition. And my recommendation would be, because of the state statute, it would trump this statute to limit that. So I would recommend that you do not place a limitation on emergency sirens.
Thank you. That's OCGA 48-94?
Yes, 4894.
And so in the instances where I have seen that happen, is that just at the discretion of the person driving the truck, or like how does that, when that does happen, how does that happen?
So I looked at several cities in Fulton County, just searching to see if anyone had moved on this, and I couldn't find any. If you want me to, were the ones you looked at, were they in Georgia? Because it could be that they were not subject to this limitation, because this would be Georgia specific.
No. This is just something that I have seen in certain areas, in certain parts of town. Mm-hmm. When they, and so I don't know, it might be the discretion of the people who are driving the ambulance that when they're in Dunwoody or Buckhead, going down West Wellesley, they don't turn the sirens on at 2 a.m. So it might be a discretion.
Yeah, I would say it's discretion because the state statute clearly gives them the right, without limitation, to have those sirens going as long as it's an emergency situation.
Thank you.
I think this is the second one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So can we call for a vote?
Yes.
Let me ask you, what was her, she was ready?
We didn't need to place it in there because the state.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve the noise ordinance.
Properly moved to second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk? Mr. Clerk?
Is that unanimous?
Yes.
All right, Roman numeral 6 for first reading. And I think this is similar to the previous one, and the city attorney has just opined that because these matters were discussed previously in a work session, the work session reading was counted as the first reading. So today it says first reading on the agenda, but we heard them at former work session. Okay. So the vote was okay for the previous item and also in the one I'm about to sound. Amendment to ordinance number 2018-005 to establish offenses related to loitering and for other purposes. This is sponsored by Councilmember Jackson under ordinance 2018-011.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve amendment, ordinance number 2018-005 in reference to loitering.
Second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Madam Attorney, that applies to all now that when we do them in work session, that will be the first reading?
Yeah, the rule is it can't be adopted as long as it cannot be adopted the first time it's introduced.
Right.
But there's no restriction on which meeting it can be introduced at.
Okay, I got you. Ms. Kirk, go ahead.
Okay. On page 4, Roman numeral 7, the first reading, this item is sponsored by Councilmember Willis under ordinance 2018-012, an ordinance to amend the code of the city of South Fulton and establish the solid waste collection, disposal, and recycling services ordinance and for other purposes.
Ms. Rose?
And so I'm going to ask our finance director to come up. This is the solid waste ordinance. Do you have a presentation? I asked before to pull together a presentation. So the second read, can you all please pull together a presentation? I know we've been here for a while, but this ordinance is to establish the mandates around our sanitation and recycling. As you know, we must stand up our sanitation and recycling services as a part of the agreement for us to continue to get local option sales tax. It's one of the essential services that we must provide. Once this ordinance is adopted, then we will move forward with the RFP process to solicit services. You have anything else to say, legal?
No, I mean, I've looked through and made comments. I can tell them to you if you want to do it via email or if you're going to postpone this and continue this.
Right, this is the first read, so I just would say by the second read, we will vote on it at the next council meeting. I would like to have not a high-level summary just for the residents, because there was a lot of questions around the sanitation and recycling ordinance. And I don't want to go through it page by page because it's pretty lengthy and it took a long time for us to get to this point. And so because it's late, I know we have quite a few legislation to get through. I would ask that we do a high-level PowerPoint presentation for the council just to highlight the main points in the ordinance and for the council and for the residents, because this is a pretty important topic for all.
And for clarity, did you want that to come from me or another?
Well, I think it needs to come from finance because he worked with me. Under finance falls purchasing. So I think you will need to work with the purchasing director and to get it, and I can also help as well if you have any questions for me.
Okay, well, I will work with you guys on putting something together for you to present.
Well, the purchasing director.
Yeah, but she's thinking.
Yeah, we had to have legal involved in the discussion too. So that's why I'm saying that it needs to be a collaborative effort between the purchasing director, which falls under finance, and then legal. I'm requesting for it to be done by purchasing, because she worked with me heavily on this ordinance.
Let me say a little bit about this. Ms. Willis, my biggest concern is this sanitation thing is big. it is important. But every time we have a conversation about sanitation, we always missing something. We can't be missing no more, Frank. We can't do it. We got to bring closure to the sanitation ordinance, and we've been working with Willis a long time. Ms. Jack, we've been working a long time on this. You know, but I don't feel as a member of this board that we have gotten any closer than where we were. And so now we're asking for high level part of a point, man, I need to be voting on this thing. And you don't have to respond. I'm just saying something. I'm just telling you. But it's time is out for this. I'll get back with you. Or we need some more information, or we ain't ready. But that's just unacceptable as we go forward when it comes to sanitation. That's just my comments.
Thank you, Mayor. We are closer because we didn't have an ordinance. Now we have an ordinance. And I met with the Fulton County leadership. I met with the tax commissioner. I met with our legal team. And I met with purchasing. So it took all of those collaborating parties to get us here. So we now have an ordinance that will mandate our services. So the next step, once we get this passed, is to move forward with the RFP process. What I have asked, and I did not get it, is a PowerPoint presentation, a high-level PowerPoint presentation that will highlight the key points of this ordinance. And I'm asking our finance director to instruct purchasing to have this by the next city council meeting. Are we clear on that?
But I say this. You know the big thing, people don't know when they get garbage gonna be picked up, who's gonna pick it up, and how much it's gonna cost. That's what people tell me at the grocery store. All right, and I think and I hear what you're saying, Ms. Willis, but I think we're dragging, man. I think we need to put this thing down and put it on the road and get it going.
This is not dragging because when we check with the clerk, it says ordinance is with the legal. She is not on the, she's on the procurement. And procurement is not with the ordinance. The purchasing is for procurement, that's her area. So that's why we referred it to the legal so that she can review the ordinance and summarize it.
Right. I don't care. I'm not trying to be nasty or nothing, but whoever's responsible for whatever, don't get up and tell me about who this doing that and didn't do this. Somebody has to be responsible. And I'm looking at a councilwoman who's doing all this legwork, and I'm concerned about what we're doing as a department. So, I mean, hear me what I'm saying. It's no blame game no more. We got to have something concrete, and we got to have an ordinance stood up because it's important to our future.
I would like to say I agree with the mayor. It is time to move forward with the ordinance. The details of the ordinance have been pulled out to allow for some flexibility in the RFP process and the details. Once we pass the ordinance, that's when a high-level overview will be able to be given to make sure that we have council and mayor on board as to how we want to proceed. But legal, the last meeting that we had, pulled together a flexible ordinance that will allow us the ability to be able to move forward in a direction that we want to go as an organization.
You're correct. They did pull out language that will compromise our RFP process. Here are the questions that are coming from residents. When is sanitation services going to start? We need, in this high level presentation, the key points of what this ordinance is, what this ordinance is, and a timeline on the process. Because when we had a timeline before, we had a timeline when we had the other RFP process. Now we're going to have a new RFP process. A lot of residents don't know this is our second time around. So we're getting questions, the council, we're getting questions constantly about when the sanitation process is going to occur. If you recall, the last time with the RFP process, we didn't even have an ordinance. There you go. We did not have an ordinance. now we have I have legislated an ordinance, and the mayor is correct. It is a lot of legwork, and I'm asking staff to step up, put together a PowerPoint presentation with some timelines so our residents can get the questions answered that they are asking us.
Okay, it will move forward once the ordinance is passed. Then we can be able to put a timeline together based on when the ordinance is passed.
I can get with them and coordinate and make sure that you get something. My understanding is that I'm to get with staff and then I help them put together a process for you that summarizes the process, gives the key points of what this ordinance will accomplish, and provides the public with a start line, a time start for implementation.
And thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
And we just need some guidance.
Yeah, I think we can I'll make sure, I'll get with you guys this week and we can start that.
Okay. I mean, I think they done. Councilman Rowell.
Just a quick thing I noticed in section 62008, just making sure under item A that we have not limited who can apply. It says all residential, municipal, solid waste, and residential recovered materials from residential service units shall be collected by a residential service provider within the city pursuant to the service agreement. Just want to make sure our hands are not too tied. And I say that I really want to support local business. As you know, I sponsor the local preference, but I also don't want to preclude us from getting other people to bid. So that's just something I noticed that was really the only way.
Okay, well, the intent of putting that in there, you do know that this ordinance is only for residential. I mean, commercial is going to have to be handled differently. So it's not to prevent any, and I sent this ordinance out like weeks ago and requested for council feedback.
I gave you feedback, but I noticed that.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yes, I just have one question. Yes. When we do our, when we all put together the presentation, I would just ask, I'm not even sure if I can ask it, so let me start there. The billing, how the billing will be handled, is that something that we can talk about in the presentation? Or do we need to wait until the RFP is completed? Or?
Yes, we can talk about how the billing is proposed to be handled. What we can't talk about is how much it's going to cost, because we don't know that yet, because that, we have to go through the RFP process and get bids and determine, and the recommendation will have to come from finance. But we can talk about how we propose to handle the billing.
Yeah, so yes. that would be specifically if we're going to need a staff person or a number of staff people to process these bills and interact with our tax commissioner and be the go-between between our tax commissioner and whoever our sanitation provider or providers are. I would just love to hear your recommendations for staffing and what you'll need to do that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. President?
Okay, the next ordinance is Roman numeral 8. This is sponsored by Councilman Baker, our Mayor Pro Tem, under Ordinance 2018-013, amendment to Title 15 of the City of South Fulton Code to establish a municipal code violation for the possession of 1 ounce or less of marijuana to issue citations for such offense in lieu of effectuating arrest and for other purposes allowed by law.
Thanks, Mr. Clerk. You have a slide. Real quick, in reference to this ordinance, this is something that is becoming more and more common. Mayor Ted and Clarkson has passed this. Kwanzaa Hall, I believe, in the city of Atlanta, passed this as well. And Marvin Arrington with Fulton County had a press conference approximately 2 weeks ago in reference to the same ordinance. Since this is the first read, I do want to just go over just 5 brief points in reference to this ordinance. And also like to thank Kimberly Anderson with the Robbins firm, Amelia Walker, Judge Sellers, our solicitor, LaDon Jones, and Mayor Edwards, who I first started these conversations with, as well as Councilwoman Gilyard, who was in opposition until I had an opportunity to speak with her in detail, and I realize there's a reason for me to take time to edify our community properly on what this ordinance actually speaks to in reference to decriminalizing as opposed to actually legalizing. So I just have a real quick a couple of facts. In the city of South Fulton, if the city of South Fulton votes to decriminalize less than an ounce of marijuana, and you possess more than an ounce, and you're in violation of additional laws, you will be still fined, you will be still subjected to serious jail time. Second, if marijuana is decriminalized, it's still considered against the law to possess it. For example, legalization is different from decriminalization, meaning that when you run a stop sign, it's illegal to run a stop sign. You get pulled over by a police officer, he writes you a ticket, it's still illegal, but you don't consider yourself, it's not an arrestable offense. And that's a point that I wanted a lot of people to understand in reference to this ordinance. Also, if this ordinance passes, our police department would have more time to investigate and close more serious types of offenses, such as slighted crimes, burglary, rape, armed robbery, murder, etc., simply due to the hours of energy and manpower that go into this process. It's said that it nationally takes up to 4 hours of a policeman's 8-hour shift to actually process something like this. The city of South Fulton could save significant amounts of money for the policing of processing and other court costs as it regards to marijuana possession by decriminalizing the personal possession of less than an ounce of marijuana. I believe, and Judge Sellers could correct me, I believe it takes, we pay approximately $65 a day to house an inmate, whereas this would actually result in us making double that money or more than double that money back when we write a citation for $150, which is actually different from the city of Atlanta and their fine of $75 or whatever. I did check with other municipalities to see what their citations were, and the 150 is a proposed legislation currently in Savannah, Georgia, that I thought would be more of a fitting to our city. And lastly, this ordinance will change the reality for many young adults that have been impacted with criminal records for arrest for less than an ounce of marijuana. They will no longer have to explain that misdemeanor or be ineligible when seeking employment or seeking acceptance to that university or seeking scholarships, financial aid, housing, etc. There's so many ways that this ordinance will change and impact our community in a positive way. This is by no means an endorsement of the use of marijuana. It is still illegal, and you will still actually face all of the penalties that you currently would face if you have more than an ounce of marijuana. So this is the first read. Legal wants to add anything. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. My only concern is the fine. If you look at cities around us, they average from, I think it's from $500 to $1,000.
First offense.
First offense. Then I had to ask myself, now if I was a reefer smoker, they don't say reefer no more, do they? I tell you how old I am. But I was smoking marijuana, and I know that I'm only going to get charged $150. I may wind up at Creel Park somewhere, coming from East Point. All right, because my fine's a little bit cheaper than others. So I want to talk to you more about it. I'm not, so I'd just like to have a conversation with you about that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You know, for me, this goes against everything that I believe in, because as a 43-year-old young African-American female, I made a conscious decision never to smoke marijuana in my life, and I never have. But I do understand the hardship that it does cause individuals when they are subjected to the criminal system due to less than an ounce of marijuana. And I did talk to my husband about it, who is in law enforcement, and I got his feedback. I do agree with the mayor. I think the fine needs to be more punitive. It needs to be more punitive. I don't agree with giving them a slap on the wrist if they're caught in our city with an illegal drug. I can't say I'm against the decriminalization, but I do want a more punitive fine.
Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
When I talked to Mr. Baker about it, he was looking at me real strange, but I agree with this, and I'm gonna tell you why. I have a 41-year-old son, and if this had been in place years ago, then Mama wouldn't have had to go down to UEC. Okay? And I'm just transparent. I'm just telling you just like it is. So if some of you all have not had to do that, God bless you. But I've had to go down there because my son had an ounce in the car. Okay? When they did a, what is it, the stop? You know how they, the traffic stop? So I do believe this will stop, and some things will not be on individuals' records if we can do some things like this. Okay? Thank you.
So whatever you want to say.
Okay, I think you got some comments, Mr. Baker, that for me, I just want to talk to you about it.
Well, lastly, not just for you, Mr. Mayor, on March 19th, from 6:30 to 9:30, right in this room, we're going to have a formal discussion and allow the public to chime in, dispute their sentiments in reference to it as well. I've spoken to Chief Halbert, I've spoken to several individuals in reference to coming and participate in a dialogue in reference to it, as well as Mayor Ted from Carson, one of the, I guess, forerunners to this ordinance.
Okay. Yes.
So would you be willing to, I know this is the first read and we have to vote on it by the next city council meeting. When is this meeting?
Monday, March 19th, the day before we reconvene.
Before we, because I was going to ask you, is there any way, are you going to do a survey or anything?
Well, I mean, this is the first read. I mean, we've had several ordinances. I have a survey if you would like a copy of it.
Yes, I would like to do a survey.
To your constituency. Well, no, I mean, allow me to finish, please. Okay. However, we've had loitering ordinances, we've had several other ordinances, and the process is actually to allow it to be a first read. As council members, we can go and, I guess, check the temperature of our communities. You know, that's your own discretion, but I do have surveys that I have been utilizing in order to get me to this point. I've also spoken to members on our school board who can't even overtly come out and say this, but they're in total support of me, and I have to, you know, deal with that. But the reality of it is, I have surveys, but it's really something that is up to your discretion. And on the 19th, anybody is welcome to come and, you know, speak to it.
Sure. Okay. Any further discussion? Not, Mr. Clerk.
Next item are board appointments. You have 3 nominations so far for the Historic and Cultural.
Before we go there, can we just put those add-on items?
Okay.
Right now.
All right. So the first add-on item was sponsored by Councilmember Willis, and I'm going to give that ordinance number 2018-014, and that's an ordinance to amend 2018-005 of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances, criminal offenses, to establish duties regarding supervision of minors within the city, to provide penalties for failures to supervise minors, and for other purposes.
Yes. Yes, this is a parent accountability ordinance, and I did put out a newsletter speaking about the midst of this ordinance. This ordinance is not to lock parents up. That is the last resort. Just like Councilmember Baker just stated about the marijuana ordinance. It's like a traffic ticket. If you violate one of our ordinances, you're going to be cited by the police department. However, with this ordinance, you're given an opportunity to, in lieu of penalties, and in lieu of fines, you're given an opportunity to go through a diversion program, and you're given an opportunity to be matched with services to help you and your child if that is needed. So with the marijuana ordinance, you don't get that opportunity. I mean, you have to pay a fine. With this ordinance, you get an opportunity to go to diversion. So we have, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, we've had a town hall meeting that packed this room with over 300 residents. This issue has been on the news. And if you have any questions, email me. I thank the residents who overwhelmingly support this. And I want to add to this ordinance as co-sponsors. Councilwoman Jackson is going to co-sponsor this with me as long, and also Councilwoman Gilyard. So please add their names, and I appreciate them supporting me.
Okay. Ms. Clerk?
I'm sorry, can I just, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask, is this, and I guess I'll ask our judge and our solicitor, because they would be the people to enforce the ordinance. Is this ordinance enforceable for parents of children who live outside of South Fulton? So if a child does something in our city limits, can we, is it only, I guess, enforceable for children who, let me give you two scenarios. If a child commits some act that we could use this ordinance against, but they actually are domiciled outside of the city of South Fulton, is this ordinance enforceable against them? And then conversely, if one of our South Fulton children commits a crime outside of our city limits in the city of Atlanta or East Point, say, is this ordinance enforceable? Or is it only enforceable for offenses that happen inside the city limits with parents and children who are also domiciled inside the city? Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So unfortunately, I have to give you the lawyer answer is it depends. And it's going to depend on the facts of the case. In any case where there is an activity or crime that does not occur in front of the police officer, they are able to get an arrest warrant by going to the judge and say this person committed X, Y, and Z crime. So in those cases where a parent may not live within the city, but the action occurred within the city, if there is enough probable cause, they may be able to get a warrant to be able to make an arrest of that parent. The facts of the ordinance in general, or the way that it's laid out, is primarily for parents who live in South Fulton and children who do crimes or do activities in South Fulton that open up the ordinance. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Councilwoman Rowell.
I understand that you are working on some form of a diversion program. I really want to hear about that because I'm concerned that in South Fulton County in particular, in our city, we have virtually no human services available. And so when we talk about, a parent being referred to counseling and the like, really they're getting in line in Atlanta for the most part, if we're just being transparent about it. So I just want to hear a little bit more about the diversion program you're putting together and kind of what that looks like.
Absolutely. So we are taking the benefit of this being a brand new city to start fresh. And so we started a process where we opened it up to accept any resumes, information from different program providers. We are going through a process where we will talk to those program providers, determine what kind of services they provide, find out information pursuant to your ordinance to determine if they live within the city or not, to determine if they get preferential treatment. Then we're also going to open it up to a town hall to get input from citizens as to what they want, while we compare the other surrounding cities for the diversion program. Then we will determine exactly how our diversion program will look. We have two very simple options like they do in most other cities, either having a nice long list of providers, and when we recommend people to do particular diversion activities, give them that list of providers and have them follow up. One of the differences in the city of South Fulton is that Judge Sellers ensured that we had a probation department, and all of our diversion programs will go through that department to ensure that they are vetted and proper. On the other end, the option for the diversion program would be to pick a particular provider that provides all of the services that we need and refer everyone to those providers. So in short answer, we don't know. We're going to use the opportunity through transition in order to get as much information as we can and be able to present to you all the best diversion program that we think will fit our city process. In the interim, when these ordinances come through until the diversion process is completed, we will do as other cities do, which is to refer them out to resources and tell them what types of diversion activities we want them to do in order to release their case. Did that answer your question?
I just want to make sure, because diversion and again, support services, because we said we're not being punitive. And so that family might need counseling or support services. And again, I don't want that diversion to be something that looks different than that, because there are a lot of families who need help with their children. And I'm also interested in finding out when a parent has one child that may be acting out and everything else as well at home. How do you deal with that when that case comes before you? So they're trying to do their best they can.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry, I answered the question as to the whole diversion program, not as it relates to this particular ordinance, so I misunderstood your original question. It's going to be on a case-by-case basis. When someone comes to us, when we look at the facts of the case, what was the problem, what was the crime that they were accused of, we're going to make recommendations based on that. I'm not a professional in that area, so our hope would be to have someone come in and evaluate and make a recommendation, whether it's anger management, classes, counseling, drug rehabilitation and treatment. Let an expert determine and recommend to us what would be appropriate. That's in the majority of cases, but there are going to be some where we can look at it very simply and say 1,000 hours of parenting classes, right? Certain many hours of community service would be the appropriate factor. So it's going to depend on a case-by-case basis, but we are going to ensure that there are complete wraparound services for each case.
Councilwoman John.
I don't know if you can answer this, but this might be a question for our police officers, but you may know Solicitor Jones. The number of kids that are committing crimes that live in the city of South Fulton, do you have those statistics? That is what I'm want to look at. I don't know, Councilwoman Willis, I didn't go to your town hall. I tried to watch some of it. But the number of kids that actually live in the city of South Fulton that are committing these types of crimes. Because I do believe that some of them are kids that are outside of our community that are coming in and committing these crimes, but I'm not certain of it. And what type of enforcement has been happening, such as truancy laws, those type of things. I know we don't have the infrastructure in place, so I kind of agree with Councilwoman Rowell on that. But what are the statistics in reference to our city, not all of South Fulton, but what is the statistics for the city of South Fulton?
I can answer the question. I have those statistics, and yes, I'll send you the PowerPoint presentation that was presented at the town hall meeting, and it has all of our statistics and what type of crimes were committed.
Just for
the city of South Fulton.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Any further discussion? Mr. Burke?
Okay, the last two items, of course, were for first reading, so they'll both be back at the March 20th meeting. The next two items are resolutions that were moved from the work session agenda to the regular meeting agenda. First one, sponsored by Councilmember Willis, is a resolution to approve the installation of a concrete barricade on the right-of-way of Spring Street to block the ingress of the New Life a.Meeting Zion Church.
Councilwoman Jones, I'm sorry.
This resolution is pretty self-explanatory. I provided pictures to the council of what's going on Spring Road. This is in District 3. This is a vacant lot behind New Life a.Meeting Church. And what's happening is that individuals are driving, are entering Spring Road and driving down through the vacant property, and they're committing crimes. There are prostitution acts going on. There's illegal dumping. And so the church has been working with code enforcement to correct, to clean up the property. And they tried to put a tire barricade to prevent people from going into the woods. And so someone has recently come down and knocked down the tire barricade, and so it's a mess. The residents are complaining, they're upset because they don't want their neighborhood to look like this. And so I have requested for our Public Works Department to place barricades off of Spring Road, and the church is also going to secure a small loan to clean up the property in order to be brought back into the code enforcement compliance. However, the entrance off of Spring Road is where the cement barricades need to go, and that is to prevent people from going into the woods, committing prostitution acts, and also committing illegal dumping violations. So I asked the council to support this resolution so that we can get the barricades there. They just said we had to have approval. They have the barricades, but they just said we need approval from council.
So they have the barricade, there's no financial impact for the city of South Fulton?
When I went to Public Works, they have the barricades, but because they said it is city property, that I had to get approval from the city of South Fulton in order to place the barricades there. So once this resolution passes, they will go and pick up the tires that have been dumped onto the street on Springdale and place the barricades there.
Well, that's not, we just passed the ordinance about financial impact, so we still need to know what the financial impact is before we can agree on the ordinance. I mean, resolution. So, I mean, that's where we are. We need to have that financial impact, that information. Nobody's not against it. We just need to know because we just passed the ordinance regarding financial impact for all resolution and ordinances.
Do we have anyone from Public Works here? Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? Mr. Clerk?
The next resolution sponsored by Councilmember Rowell. This and the previous one will be 2018-012. This one will be 2018-013, a resolution to establish a performance measurement and reporting system for the city of South Fulton and for other lawful purposes.
This particular ordinance seeks to establish a performance measurement system for our city. As you know, there's 7 people on council and 100,000 residents, and everybody has a different ideal about how, we should align our priorities around the 5 ones we've identified to stand up our city. And so this particular ordinance is asking the city manager to put that system in place to give direction to the department heads about what we'll be measuring, and we're all on the same page. I think this is really important. It is aligned with best practices. If you recall earlier in the summer, last summer, I had Atlanta Regional Commission and Neighborhood Nexus come out to talk about making sure we're making decisions based on data. And I think this provides an objective basis to do that. So that's all it does. It directs the city manager to establish a performance measurement system for the city.
This version?
Yeah, it is. So.
Any discussion? Mr. Clerk?
Okay, so the next.
It actually is a resolution. So
Yeah, it's a resolution. That's right. It's a resolution.
No, he said, so, yeah, it was the first reading, but it's a resolution.
Correct. It is a resolution.
So
in that case, I do have a discussion. We just had a whole big conversation about not telling the city manager how to do their job. And I'm wondering, since we just hired him, could we table this maybe until he comes in and he can have a look at it? And would that be prudent to do?
I'm actually okay with that, but I do think it's important from the onside to give the city manager clear direction. And so we need to get in a room real soon and decide how we'll be measuring his performance, and then he in turn will be measuring the department heads. So this is a top priority.
So if the motion is going to be to hold or what?
So y'all make a motion to hold?
Well, I mean, y'all make a motion to hold the barricades, so do I need to make a motion to hold the barricades? Because the barricades are a top priority for me too.
Let's take one motion at a time. This motion was made, Please, motion was made, did we get a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Now, Ms. Willis, you want to make another motion?
Yes. I would like to move that we hold the barricade resolution until I get the financial impact, until the next city council meeting.
Second.
Good idea. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? That passes unanimously, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, you're now at the board appointment section, and you have 3 nominations to the Historic and Cultural Landmarks Commission. Councilmember Rowell is nominating Dr. Lynn Anidi. Councilmember Gums is nominating Ms. Sybil Haley. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then Councilmember Willis is nominating Dr. John Herring.
Are any of those people present tonight?
Yes, Dr. Herring is here.
Where's Dr. Dr. Herring? All right. Any others? Okay. I'll accept the motion.
I move that we approve the nominees for the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Properly moved and second, any discussion? All those in favor? That passes unanimously, Mr. Clerk.
Congratulations, Dr. Herring.
Brings you to the other reports. The first item is the GMA agreement.
City Clerk, before you move forward, we table the item, the smoke free?
Yes, we did.
So we need to.
Okay, so
Yeah, you need a motion to remove it from the table.
I would like to make a motion to remove it from being tabled.
Just to lift it from the table.
To lift it off the table.
I second.
Properly moved and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? You lifted.
I move that we change the definition of cigarettes to include hookahs. Hookahs. I don't smoke, so I don't.
What you say?
Yeah.
What's a hookah?
So it's talking about e-cigarettes and vaporized smoke in terms of the definition of cigarettes.
Right. For the council, you all have to get up on your lingo for the youth. So they have hookah spots where, and they also have e-cigarettes, but we will include that language in our ordinance.
That's on page 102, item 4, any device that heats liquid nicotine for inhalation in a vaporized form and emits excess vapor into the general atmosphere, e-cigarettes, hookahs.
All right, got that? That was your motion?
Yes.
Any second?
Second.
The properly moved to second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously, Mr. Clerk. Okay.
GMA agreement.
Mayor and Council, I'm here to ask the Council to approve the agreement between City of South Fulton and GMA to do the correction of our unpaid revenues from the time for all revenues that are due to the city that have not been corrected. So I ask that you authorize the agreement, that we enter in agreement with the GMA to correct our uncorrected revenues.
Any questions? Hearing none? Thank you.
This is our revenue that we have as of 22nd of February. These are the revenues that we have collected from October 1 through 22nd of February. So I want to draw your attention on the second column from the left, the second one, year to date. That's the amount that so far we have collected this line. And remember, the budget is a budget. The budget are just estimates. What matters is what we have corrected. Because only what we have corrected can be applied to expenditures that we have. So the budget is what you see on the left-hand column, a total of 65 million. And so far, this is what we have collected. Everything that you see in the third column is the percentage of respective revenues. As you see, the first one, that's our main revenue, the real property tax. So far, we have collected 86% with a balance of $2.1 million. And some of those ones you are seeing, anything that you see in red here is the balance of what is due to be collected. Some of these ones will not collect. Some of them will not even reach half of them. Some of the areas that I need to make a point mainly is like this one of the insurance premiums, $3.8 million. This is the money that we're expecting to have share with the Fulton County. As of now, Fulton County says we are not going to have a share in 2018. Therefore, our next revenue in this area will be 2019. So that 3.8 will have to be adjusted when we are making adjustments in the mid-fiscal year, which will be next month. That 3.8 will go away. Therefore, we have to find the corresponding expenditure to reduce, or we have to find other revenues. The next one is the intergovernmental services to FID. As you all know, that we are not going to get all services to FID. We are not going to provide, as we estimated that amount was to say we are going to provide everything. That's to start with business license, police, fire. But as you know, that as of now it's only fire, so we have to make adjustments to that amount of $10 million. We have to reduce that. So this is the summary of the revenue as of 22nd of February. We are at 35% correction, and business and occupational taxes are due March 31st. So some of the revenue, they are not appearing here because the due time is not yet there. So come March, April, that's when we'll be having more inflows of business and occupational taxes. Municipal court revenues have increased steadily, as you may hear from the court, that there are some revenues that we are missing because of the setup. But once those revenues are starting flowing in, you have an increase in the municipal court revenues. In our mid-year March, we will be adjusting our revenue, including insurance premium, as I have indicated. We will not be receiving share of insurance premiums from Fulton County. Building permits, site permits, land developments are over 50% as of now. They are doing very well, those revenues. Our main source of revenue, real property taxes, at 86%, and that 86%, as you know, that we are sharing in this year, out of the 11, 5.7 mils, only 7.49 is the one that we are correcting, because Fulton County is correcting the balance, which is 4.86. These are our expenses. As you'll see, expenses are much, much higher compared to revenues. Revenues, we are almost towards there, but expenses, we have just started. Our main expenditures are these ones from Fulton County intergovernmental expenditures. So far, we have paid $5.6 million on police, and we have paid $5 million on fire. Animal control, we have paid $148. So these are our main expenditures. So far, on expenses, we are at 26%, and we still have about $35 million to spend. But we can't spend this one if we don't have enough revenue to support our expenses. Again, 26% expenses. Our biggest obligations are Fulton County. And the other point we have to, as I think Councilwoman Willis pointed out, that every month that we have those departments with Fulton County, we are losing the non-governmental. So in this case, this month, we will be saving, next month we'll be saving $402,000 just by transitioning police into the city. $402,000 a month, that will be saving on fire. And police, again, is $448,000 that we pay in non-governmental areas. So if we transition police next month, in April, we will be saving $448,000 in police. Then it will come again when we transition the Parks and Recreation. Our next IGA payments to county is due March the 15th of $3 million. So we'll be paying $3 million to Fulton County on the 15th of March. Here's a note that we should remember that when we started the city in May, we started with negative balance. We started with $12 million that we got as tax anticipation note. That one we have not paid as up to now, and it's due December 31st. We will need additional time to meet our IGA payments to the county and to pay off the current time by September 30th. Why are we paying it? Because that's the end of our fiscal year. At the end of the fiscal year, we have to see how much we received and how much we are paying. If you recall, you already authorized to get a $10 million last year so we can pay Fulton County obligations. Luckily enough, we tried to be so conservative that $10 million additional time you authorized has not yet been taken. So as we go by, as we run out of money to pay Fulton County, we will revisit that 10 that you already authorized. We didn't get that one. Expenditures, it is imperative that our expenditure are within our budget. We need to exercise fiscal responsibility in the next 1 to 1.5 years as we strive to balance our budget at the same time building up our fund balance. We can't talk of fund balance now until we have a balanced budget. We can't have balanced budget until we have enough revenues to meet our expenses. And we cannot spend what we do not have, and we cannot borrow what we cannot repay. That's the reason why we delayed the taking of the time, the $10 million that you authorized, because we knew we can work within what we had. But time will come as we have received all the revenues, and yet we'll still be having more expenses to meet. If there's any question or explanation that you may have.
Any question from Mr. Milan? Yes. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say these business taxes and the permits and everything, this comes out of our planning and zoning department.
Correct.
Which was the first department that we brought over, so I think I just want to say you all are doing an amazing job.
And the department is doing a great job.
Yes. The business and occupation tax, though, is no, I'm sorry, no. They're doing a great job as well. So my question is just overall. We originally were budgeted for like $65 million. Do you have a projection of what we will probably end up, like what our budget might actually be by the end of this year? Do you have a projection?
We may actually, if everything, we may be reducing the budget almost about $8 to $10 million if we are to meet with our revenue, inflow of revenues.
And so then my second question is, do we need to do anything to amend the budget? Do we need to look at line items or things like that? Do we need to do a budget workshop around?
So what will happen is the mid-month, next towards the end of March, we will prepare to go, this is what was budgeted, and this is what we have received, or this is what we have spent, and this is our proposal. So you will work in to amend that. And thereafter, then I will let you know to say with this, then we can get the time for so much.
And so this is a process question. Can we expect in March to be doing budget workshops on top of our council meetings. Is that right? Like when we do the budget in October, we have a whole separate set of budget hearings and workshops, and we're here all day. I'm asking as a matter of scheduling process, will we need to do that at meeting?
And I'm sure the new city manager will make people will do that. I will say this, that at mid-year, that gives you the best snapshot, basically, as to where you're going to be for the rest of the year. I would caution people, though, that in my experience with government budgets, that at mid-year, when something looks good, it truly ain't good, because you have another whole year, half a year to go. So I think that the best judge is always the mid-year budget conversation, which we'll all have together.
So I'm just going to govern myself accordingly, keep a couple of days open. And then the last question is, and this, it probably has to do with the mid-year as well. Do you anticipate that we will have to reduce our budget for 2019?
We can talk about 2019. So what will happen next month after making adjustments to this budget? At the same time, we'll be preparing to give a calendar of what will take place from April through September when you'll be adopting the budget. Those workshops you are talking about will give you the budget calendar for 2019. That will start in April. So we'll be working April, May, June, July, August, and September you pass. Last year, what we did was not the normal. You remember we passed 2 budgets within 5 months. So that one is not. So we will have 6 months. You have 6 months working on the 2019 budget, starting from April.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilwoman Guns.
Is this information going to be available on the website for the residents to see? And what's the status with OpenGov?
This one will be on the. This one will be on site, and on OpenGov, we met with them about last week when they came, but we were tied up with the audit, and again, audit is finished. We'll be having reports next month, so they will be coming back. I think mid of March to finalize what we were working on, but we're working with them. And they assigned us the local personnel in Atlanta.
So you have a local personnel. So
yes.
And you're saying the target date of, I guess, completion or when it will be implemented is in March?
The audit they have done, now they are compiling the reports. And
so once the reports are done, that's when the OpenGov will be available on the website?
Right. As soon as the report has finished, then we will have to implement. But it depends on what they will have. The local staff, they have to come here and see what we have on the website. At the same time, our website is still in development. That's another problem again.
But this information that you're presenting now, it will be on the website?
It will be online, yes. It is going through the, through the clerk. It will be just wherever we are putting everything that has passed through the council.
Mrs. Wood, did you have a question?
No, good.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Malazi. Councilwoman Jackson, y'all should be all right if y'all gave up y'all 2 minutes.
Actually, we still have one more item on the agenda. Yes, moving the meeting on the 13th.
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. Huh?
We already did it.
Did it pass?
Oh, I
They moved it to the 20th?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't think we passed it.
We want to do it again?
Did we pass it?
Do you have it documented? Y'all have it already documented? We're clear.
Okay.
We're clear.
So
We did pass it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So no meeting on March the 13th?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Willis, you want to say something real fast?
Real fast. I want to thank you to the Fulton County Police Department. Yesterday, I was at a community meeting, and we had individuals doing reckless driving through our subdivision on ATVs. I called the police department. They reported within 5 minutes, and they confiscated 4 ATVs. So thank you very much. The ordinance does work.
And if you all are doing that, we still need that in District 2 as well. Because we've called a couple of times and you all don't come.
So let's make sure it's even across the board.
Okay, Ms. Rowell, go ahead.
I just want to thank our fire department and code enforcement, as well as Fulton County Police for doing an outstanding job supporting the one block at a time cleanup on Cascade Road. I want to thank the mayor for coming out. We had over 50 residents out on this past Saturday. We picked up 540 pounds worth of trash on Cascade Road. So want to thank kudos to the residents and all the individuals who partnered with me on that, Cascade Business Merchants Association, Walmart, Kroger, Keep Southwood Beautiful, K-Bashi, K&E Group. We just had a great representation for community, and people were really excited to be engaged. Thank you.
Yes, as always, you can find the latest information and news in the city of South Fulton at colleaguecares.com. I do want to let you all know on March 1st, this is for the men in the audience, at Heritage Elementary, we'll be doing a Real Men Read program, so it's from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's on Jolly Road. It used to be the Meadows Elementary. We will be reading to kids, so if you can come out 8 to 12, that would be great. And then lastly, I just want to leave everyone with this thought. The best apology is changed behavior.
Real quick. I'm sorry. I just want to thank Mr. Corey Johnson, who's in the audience in the blue, wave your hand real quick. Corey's been assisting with a lot of our young people in our city with the IT program. So if you have any young people between the ages of 18 and 24, please see him before he leaves, because he can answer all the questions that I won't be able to answer from now on, because he's here. So please see him before you leave.
Ms. Jackson, you have anything? Okay, well, you gonna say something? Okay.
District 2 will have their community cleanup for Earth Day on April the 21st. I apologize that I misquoted it in my newsletter as the 24th, but Earth Day is on the 22nd. Our cleanup will be on the 21st, and it is being sponsored by Comcast and residents of the city. We will meet up at Wolf Creek Library. So I do ask you all, even if you don't live in District 2, we need all hands on deck. So let me know, and you can find out more about what's happening with the city and District 2. You can text D2 News to 22828.
Okay, Ms. Williams?
Move to adjourn.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Have a great night.